live now.
Are we
Hello.
currently live?
Yeah.
Are we live?
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Okay.
Awesome. Well, here we are, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We are Chance Encounters. This is Tales from Miniry. It is a show where we are going to play Blue Rose, which is the first time any of us have played this game. So we're going to get a lot of things wrong. So we thank you ahead of time for your patience. My name is Thomas. I'm going to be the narrator. Here are my amazing players. Say hello, amazing players.
Hello.
And if it's all right with everybody else, I'm just going to dive straight into it. So let's go. And if there's any audio stuff, Cindy, I actually am not making any noise or anything like that, just let me know.
Okay, sounds good.
So we start. We are in the world of Aldea. It is a world forged by the four primordials. Its people shaped by the seven gods of light. Our journey takes us to the country of Aldous, the kingdom of the Blue Rose, whose egalitarian ways and rich mixture of cultures mark it as a near utopia, were it not for the ever-present threat of sorcery. While arcana flows freely throughout Aldea, touching many with its spark, sorcery is known as shadow magic, foul practices that corrupt the mind and body in exchange for power over others. Throughout much of Aldea, sorcery is ruthlessly punished in any form. And although its use is illegal in the Kingdom of the Blue Rose, its study is cautiously permitted. Such research proved invaluable 2 years ago when Queen Jalen operated a mystical portal to strike at the heart of the Lich King, a relentlessly evil sorcerer and self-appointed leader of the shadowed lands of Kern to the northeast. Although defeated, the Lich King's forces still operate tirelessly to bring doom to Aldous and the Queen. However, this is not a journey that follows the epic adventures of heroes of destiny, nor the story of a ragtag band of mercenaries who find themselves caught up in a world far greater than themselves. No, this is a story of a little place called Miniry, a village at the edge of it all. Blue, we'll start with you. You are currently soaring over the Rizaean Gulf, a large body of water between Rizea, the country of Rizea, and the country of Aldous. You are flying perhaps faster than you have ever flown in your entire life. Your little raven wings taking you at speeds you've never fathomed capable before. You see the beautiful blue water of the Trident, a massive estuary that kind of leads into the area towards Miniry. You see it kind of sparkle as the sun rises to the east. As you kind of soar further and faster up the Trident, you see a lighthouse known as the Dusk Tower that stands vigil in Miniry's Bay at the very end of the Trident's prong. You see the immense stretch of woodlands known as the Weald, where you yourself came from before you came to this village, and you see it stretching all across the northern border of Aldous. You see the massive mountains looming overhead, forming a natural border between Aldous and its neighbor of Rizea to the north. You see a river that carves its way through the Weald and goes right through Miniry, known as the Idle River. And you can see the various canals and raised elevation of structures of the various buildings that are somewhat haphazardly constructed in the village itself. And you can see that there is a more open area to the south, covered with farmland that, although is more tame than the rest of the wilderness around you, is still somewhat uneven and perhaps not the most ideal spot for farms. So as you're soaring over this place that has become your new home, what is going through your mind?
I'm probably... This is in the morning time, right?
Yeah, the sun is rising.
Nice. Okay. I'm probably just thinking about how pretty this land is and how nice it is that it's not completely torn out by the two legs, but it's still a really nice place. And my home is right nearby, so I can always fly back to home if I need to. It's just enjoying the wilderness and the moderate amount of civilization that they have decided to bring to this land.
Excellent. Well, as you kind of survey this area, kind of taking it all in and appreciating the lot that you have in life, you do notice that all of Miniry is currently on fire. Which is to say, there are giant white flames burning and absolutely starving for anything, burning up every little structure. Nothing is left free from its destructive energy. And you can see that everything that has been created there, everything that the two legs have built up, is being utterly destroyed. And then you see sparks of this white flame that emits no smoke. Kind of catch onto parts of the wheel, start to set various trees on fire, and that begins to spread. You see that the sparks also flash onto the waters of the Trident, and patches of seawater just erupt in this white flame, and everything is on fire.
What? Wait.
And that is when you feel a cat paw smack you in the face. And that's when you wake up from this nightmare.
Oh my god. I was just thinking, like, we started this day one on the job and just started with the fire. We didn't even set this fire. We just started with the fire.
You are awoken. There is a large tree located in the center of Miniry village that has become your home. And up here you are resting. At least you were, until this massive cat paw kind of slapped you awake. And you hear the familiar voice of a Rycat, which is a cat with psychic powers just like you, who is trying to wake you up. His name is Tessic, and he says to you, "Hey, boss, you need to get up. What's going on, boss?"
Well,
You okay
that was
there?
quite a I believe so. That
Usually
was
it's me
quite
who's the one who sleeps in.
I'm not sure if I just had a very vivid dream or an extremely troubling vision. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. How are you this morning?
Tessic kind of like you're both on this like big branch. You, a tiny raven, are kind of sitting in the nest that you have made. Him, a cat who is somewhere between the size of a house cat and a lion. He just kind of like stretches his paws out and like cranks his neck up to the sky. He's a very fluffy cat. He's kind of got these gray and black markings, and he's got a lot of tufts of hair kind of pointing up from his ears. And he's got these two big, beautiful blue eyes that he's looking at you with. And he speaks to you psychically. So his mouth is not moving. You hear this all in your mind. But he says to you, "Don't you remember you've got that very important meeting to go to today?"
What time is it?
He says, "I have no idea. The sun is up. I don't know. You're probably late."
Well, then we should probably go. Why didn't you wake me sooner? And I'll begin flying away from him.
Okay.
I kind of leave him in the dust, but
Oh,
yeah,
Blue.
I'll head to the meeting that I'm probably late to.
Yeah, he quickly like jumps down the tree and says, "Hey, boss, wait for me. You need your bodyguard with you."
That's really cute.
I'm in the skies. Who's gonna hit? Wait, okay, sure. I'll go back down a little bit, just so.
You
fly
notice
with
as
him.
you're kind of flying up that it's a bit overcast ahead right now, and it's a particularly cold day in Miniry. As far as you can tell, there aren't a huge amount of people walking around right now, so it looks like the day hasn't fully started just yet, so maybe you still have a bit of time. But Tessic comes up to you and he says, "Look, all I know is that you're the one who told me that you have an important meeting and that if you didn't wake up, I needed to wake you."
So why'd you wait so late to wake me?
"Because I was also asleep."
That's a big
Beautiful.
mood. That's a big
"Well,
mood.
listen, we're both awake now, so let's get going." And then, like, as he's kind of like trotting along, do you like climb on his back or anything? Do you like hop along with him?
Is he faster than I am?
He's not moving especially fast right now. He's kind of just like casually walking.
Then we need to pick up the pace. I start flying faster, but still
Okay.
near him.
He'll kind of like increase his speed a little bit as he follows you, and then he kind of like this. His eyes widen as he gets realization, and he says, "Oh my gosh, Blue! I've become one of them. I've become one of the two legs. I'm worried about meeting times and civilized things." And he just collapses there on the ground and goes, "No, no."
Oh my! Get up, you drama queen. Just
The
get
worst
up.
has happened.
We need to go. We don't
We've
have time for
become
this.
one of them. We were meant to keep an eye on them, and we've become them. Don't you see, Blue?
Sometimes you need to adapt, and that's okay. It's part of nature. Let's go.
"We were appointed," and he kind of starts following after you. He says, "We were appointed by a unicorn. You know how important that is? A unicorn told us to keep an eye on these two legs so they don't ruin everything about the nature of this place and our homeland. And you think it's perfectly fine that we are slowly becoming more like them with every passing day?
I think that if we don't go to this meeting, it's pretty hard for us to do our jobs and make sure they don't ruin this entire land, right?
Jobs. We didn't have jobs once.
Oh, you're right.
See? This is what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is an important meeting for you. I, on the other hand, have extremely crucial plans needed elsewhere today.
Where's that, my trusty bodyguard?
So you know the tavern in town, the Blooming Bud? I have
Sure.
discovered that the rafters of that place provide ample heat and access to amazing smells throughout the day.
Enjoy yourself. I'll give you the day off for this one.
Hey, listen, boss. Just because I'm going to be lounging around doesn't mean I'm not going to be working hard. It's the best place to hear little pieces of information here and there. The two legs are nothing if not very loud.
You're not wrong. Okay. And what would this be? Reconnaissance? Or reconnaissance mission?
Sure, yes. Very important
Exactly.
reconnaissance mission.
Go for it. Sounds good to me.
Also, not to give anything away, but sometimes certain morsels make their way to places where the two legs don't like to pick them up from. It's great. I love it. Anyway, have fun at your meeting.
Thank you. You have fun on your reconnaissance mission.
Oh, I will. And, if any danger or anything happens, just...
Absolutely. We're
right.
connected. Always.
Of course. All right, see you later, my friend.
See you later.
Okay, and you make your way to the village hall to get to your meeting. We'll jump over now to Rami. You are waking up in the home of a old woman by the name of Yuri, who you have been sort of hiring out a room from during your stay in Miniry. Walk me through what it's like when you wake up in the morning.
Well, first, the room is kind of a lot. It's the equivalent of a tornado zone right now. There are just like fabrics, rugs, like jewels, everything, like all very cheaply, poorly made stuff thrown out everywhere, all over the place. You can't take a step without bumping into something or another, shiny or odd looking. It's a mess, and honestly, it's really cluttered. And there's a lot of like high smelling things too, so just coming in there immediately is just a sensory overload from the start.
You actually, the reason that you wake up is you hear a knock at the door to your room, and you recognize the voice of Yuri, and she says to you, breakfast is ready if you need it, Rami.
Oh,
Oh
Wait.
dear, did somebody only just wake up?
yes. Okay, I'll see you shortly. Just give me a second.
I'll bring you up some tea.
Thank you.
And you hear kind of like the heavy footsteps as she walks back downstairs.
Okay. Well, this hair is not gonna do. I need to start with that. All right.
Okay, so when you make your way over to the mirror to start kind of
Oh, I
like
don't have
sorting
a
yourself
mirror.
out. Oh, do you have a mirror? Okay, so what
No.
do you just...
No. I like the idea of how I look better than how I actually look.
Ah.
So I'm just sort of envisioning the style I want and hoping it works out. And if it doesn't, I have the confidence it does anyway.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, I just start pulling it up and trying to do like an elaborate updo, but then I forget halfway that I'm doing that. And I'm like, oh snap, I need to do makeup too. So I just leave half of my hair done, and then I run and grab makeup, and I get mostly through that, but then decide I don't like the color, so I kind of smear it off and try something else. And that happens for about like a good 30 minutes of just going through that and switching.
Well, at some point then, Yuri would have knocked to come in and give you your tea as well.
Yeah, just put it over there. I have one blank spot. See that part of the
She
corner?
kind of like looks around and she just like makes small talk and goes, "Oh, you've really settled yourself in while being here. It's really nice to see that you've embraced sort of the Miniry culture." And she just
Yes.
She like tries to put the saucer down on a dresser, and there just isn't quite enough room, so she just has to slightly elbow, an accoutrement out of the way to just put it down.
Oh, it's fine. You can just throw that one on the floor. I'm not that fond of it. I just got it to get this other thing on sale. See, look at this. Look at this. It's just awful green and red, striped.
That's quite lovely. I quite like that.
Oh, I know, right? I think it's going to look great when I turn it into a coat.
Oh, how very nice. You're such a crafty person. I wanted to thank you, by the way, for helping me out in the garden yesterday. It looks like it's going to snow, and I don't think I would have been able to really handle being outside too much today.
It's fine. It's relaxing. I don't mind.
Did you want me to post those letters you were working on last night?
No, I'm fine. I'll send them in a little bit later.
Oh, it's no problem. It gives me a good excuse to go out and get some exercise in the morning.
Oh, that's true. It's just that I've been writing to my family, and I've talked to you before that we don't talk very often, so it's very personal. It's very personal.
Oh, certainly. I didn't mean to impose.
No, you're fine.
You can just get them to me when you're ready.
Okay.
Though I will be needing the ink back.
Oh yes, yeah, you can have them here.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you for letting me use your ink. That was wonderful of you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am not done yet with this.
Oh, of course. Don't let me keep you. And she kind of shuffles out of the room. And so you go ahead and finish everything else. Is there anything you kind of see to while you're here at home before heading out to your meeting?
Yeah, I just kind of grab like something sparkly dangling and just throw it in my pocket later for Blue, since Blue also likes sparkly things.
Lovely. Okay. You kind of head out the door. You grab something to eat, and you start walking. As you begin walking, you can see that it is actually snowing in Miniry right now. It's been the start of the new year. It was the new year about 2 weeks ago. And you begin making your way to the village hall. As you do, you walk by the house of a human named Jun, who is, you know him as your kind of fellow writer on the village newsletter that has very quickly been co-opted into a sort of gossip rag thanks to your influence.
Yes, it is. I'm telling you, it's so much better that way.
And he kind of like makes it out of his home. He says goodbye to some man who's there, and he sees you and he starts to come over towards you. But then the man back at the door calls him back, and he quickly rushes back. And the man at the door holds up these two big fluffy mittens. And Jun grabs them, and they both kind of like have a quick kiss before he runs back towards you, kind of with these massive mittens now on his hands. And he says, Rami, hello.
Oh, hey.
Good morning.
I'm sure that you've seen I've sent in what I want to publish this week already. I have it in the office.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's a lot, and it's very good, and I really do so appreciate the color that you bring to the columns. However, I was just wondering if perhaps maybe we could try and fit something slightly more practical in. What with the cold weather coming in, maybe we could throw something in about staying safe or...
Oh, yes! What kind of coats to wear? That's perfect. The kind of style that's in, what people should wear with it.
Well,
I love that.
It was yes, along those lines. We can workshop it. Absolutely. And he kind of like just sort of shakes for a little bit and sort of rubs his big mittens together, and he says, so big meeting today then?
Oh, yeah. I'm not that worried about it. Honestly, normally I just come up with whatever I'm going to say as I walk over to the meeting, because I can see what's going on in the town, see what's wrong, see where we need to fix things.
You must know about the mercenary who's coming to town then.
Tell me more about that mercenary.
Oh, well,
You wanted practicality, right? You give me enough information and I'll let you lead that article you wanted to write about. And I won't edit any of it at all.
Oh, well, I was more just making small... Yes, well... this mercenary came in the other day. Apparently he was doing jobs over in Rosea, and then has sort of just spending some of the coin he earned here for a little bit, and it's just hanging around. I thought it would be a good idea to maybe get an interview with him in later. Maybe see if he could review the security we have here, the guards and the watch, everything. See how everything looks to a seasoned professional.
That sounds really boring. Why don't we just kind of figure out some gossip about him? Let's figure out what he's doing here. Maybe like his past relationships he's had in other towns.
I don't know if it reflects well on us to just gossip about people who come to visit.
But that's what everyone's going to care about. Do you think they really care about the security? No, they're going to be interested in who entered their town. Like, you know it's true. Everyone's going to talk about it anyway, so why don't we report on it first?
It wasn't too long ago that Miniry was raided by bandits. I think a lot of people still do care quite deeply about security, and with this new guard captain that we have, nobody really knows if she's kind of proved herself yet, so...
Yeah, okay. You know what? That's fine. All right, we can do half and half, okay? We'll do a half practical interview where you can talk a little bit about security, while I'll write the obviously more important one about their gossip and who they are and just what they want in life. Ooh, I'm really excited. This is gonna be so juicy.
Well, excellent. I'm glad we got that sorted. I need to get over to work. I hope you have a good day in the council chamber. Do let us know if any juicy things happen while you're there.
Oh, I will. Don't worry about it. I've been working on some articles about the other council members.
He kind of like goes to say something, then just stops. Okay, well, I'll see you later. Goodbye. And you and he diverge as you go up one of these small stone bridges that kind of crosses over one of the canals in Miniry. Let's jump over to Micah. We go to the guardhouse where currently, Micah, you are residing as the new captain of the guard. This has kind of become your de facto base of operations. The door slams open, and a Vatan woman walks in, and she kind of like starts stomping around. She's got a handful of pitchforks, and she like slams the door closed, and she just goes, "Oi, oi, oi, Cap, you around? Cap."
Ow! Morning.
Oh, Cap.
Morning. I wonder. Give me a second. Sorry.
She kind of leans under to look at one of the cots in the guardhouse and says, "Cap, you can't keep sleeping under the bed."
The bed's too soft. I told you. Ow.
Cap, these beds are filled with perhaps the stiffest hay that exists in the entire world.
I don't see why everyone needs to sleep on beds when the floor is perfectly fine, and I'm fine right here, and I like it under here. I don't want to leave, and I don't want to get out of bed today. Please don't make me get out of bed today.
Well, here's the thing. You told me that you had a meeting that you needed to go to today.
I forgot about the meeting! And she's like scrambling to get her books.
It's alright, we still got time. And she says, "I guess you're used to sleeping in the mountain your entire life, so it must be weird still adjusting to how things work around here, right?"
Yeah, I think, where is that? Ah, found it. Okay, am I late? Do I look okay, or I don't know.
You have
is
time
okay?
for, like, a bit of food, maybe?
Yeah, sure, okay, yeah, that sounds good.
In the meantime, check out these pitchforks I got.
What are they for?
They are the new additions to our guard armory.
They're forks.
What do they call it when a guard takes something? Oh yeah, I requisitioned them.
Isn't that just stealing?
No. They were given somewhat. Some of them a bit rusty anyway, so that's alright.
But who? Okay, I guess you could just put them.
Listen, Cap.
Yes?
You made me your sergeant, and I'm gonna do right by you. All right? We gotta get prepared for all eventualities, like
Like
more bandits or
what eventualities?
hay golems. I don't know.
What's a hay golem?
Oh,
What?
sorcery does all weird things, doesn't it? I'm not an adept. I don't know. And she walks over to kind of like a door that's a little bit ramshackle, and she opens up what is essentially a shed, and just throws the pitchforks in there. And the other things that are in this room are a couple of battered shields, a broom, some buckets, and this, of course, is the Miniry armory. She closes it and very proudly locks the padlock on the front.
Well, okay, okay. I need to write this down. Hey, Gollum, I need to do more research on these things. Later. Right. Okay. Meeting. No, wait. Food and then meeting. Right. Okay.
Got an apple? Catch.
Ah!
It bounces right off. You like slam it into the ground with such force that it kind of it half explodes on the ground, just sending a spray of apple juice across the floor. And Sergeant Rosias just kind of looks down at it and goes, "So you're not gonna eat that then?"
I'm sorry. I'll still. She picks it up and she just brushes the dirt off and just like starts eating it.
Yeah. She like comes over to you and helps you kind of like get dressed and get kind of like your jacket on and everything. And the two of you prepare to leave. She opens the door up, and as she does, a cold wind flows into the guardhouse, and you see tiny white flakes of something just falling from the sky.
Suna.
Rosias, remember, gotta like act all like authority like.
What's that?
What? What are you looking at?
Those white things? Is it sorcery? Are we all gonna die today?
She takes a second and she laughs. She says, "Cap, that's snow." Right,
What is
mountains. I forget. You've never seen snow before. You've seen snow. Oh, not falling from the sky. Right. Okay, I'm with you now. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
It's fine. You know how it rains sometimes?
Yes.
This is that, but when it's cold. It's nice, kind of.
Okay. So it's not going to kill us.
No.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. Oh, don't forget this. And she like picks up from a nearby stand a blue ribbon that has kind of this tin emblem of a shield on it. And this one is special from the others because it has kind of some like a starburst happening behind it. And she says, "Your badge, Cap."
Thanks. I guess. And she'll place it just awkwardly like right where her shirt ends, like not at the chest where it's supposed to be. I don't know, man. Fashion is hard.
Yeah. So you and Sergeant Rosias start walking out into Miniry. You start making your way towards the village hall. How do you feel about the snow as it's falling around you? Is it kind of like a childlike wonder, or is it still a bit of terror? How are you feeling?
Yeah, a little bit of terror. Like definitely like trying to like dodge them. Like there's one like falling right in front of her face. She'll just like sidestep it.
And you see that it's slowly gathering on the ground as well. So unlike rain, it is sticking around.
Yeah. Definitely,
And,
yeah.
As you're walking along, you and Rosias are making your way through the village, and there's the occasional person who just kind of like gives you a good day, and some people saying, "Hello, guard captain."
Me? Oh, right, I'm the guard. Good morning.
And your sergeant kind of like gets in the way of you and says, all right, don't crowd the captain. She's got a lot of important work to do. Very late for a very important meeting." And the person's like, oh, right, yep, don't mean to get in the way. Just thought I'd say hello. And they start walking off, and she says, "Yeah, that's right."
Well, you know, it's okay. I don't mind talking to people.
Listen, Cap, you need to have a certain level of intimidation about you, because right now it's something we need to work on. You got the biceps, but you're also a bit of a feather on the inside, you know?
Well,
And I mean that like as a compliment.
Oh, okay. I mean, okay. Feathers are kind of nice, I guess. So you know, there's
Yeah.
that. Blue has feathers, and you know, he's kind of nice. That's yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're fine, Cap. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Everybody knows that you could snap anybody in this village in half if you wanted to.
I don't want to snap anyone in half.
Nah, shh! Don't say that so loud. Gotta leave the potential for it out there.
Okay. Okay then.
Yeah, there we go. And as you're walking along, you also cross one of the canal bridges going towards sort of the center of town. And as you do, you see another member of the watch coming your way. They have a spear in hand, some leathers on. That's basically it. They have, of course, the blue ribbon and tin shield on their arm as well. And your sergeant kind of goes up to them. And she says, "Oi, Sudi, give me one of those Reports, that's it. And the Watcher who is coming away just kind of goes. It's like a sort of a 30-ish-year-old woman, human woman. She kind of just like looks at your sergeant and at you and says, "Well, everything seems fine. Saw a bee earlier." And Razia says, "Really? In this weather? That's a bit weird." And the guard says, "Yep." And so Razia says, "Well, did it sting you?" And the guard says, "Nope." And I go, "Captain, everything's going so well around here. Look at this."
Okay, so, good job.
Carry on.
Or yeah. Carry on. Sorry.
And Sudi just kind of like looks at you, just kind of gives a slow nod and goes, "Oh, you need a nap," and just starts lumbering towards the guardhouse.
Oh, okay. Hopefully that was okay, and she's not too angry or anything like that.
Cap, you're fine. You worry too much. Also, your faithful sergeant has everything under control, yeah?
You forgot what the word for report was.
I didn't forget. I was just trying to sound the most official.
Just
Listen,
like,
you need room to...
oh, Thomas, I can't hear you.
Thank you. He says, you need room to improve, otherwise it's going to be just really boring around here. You know, you got to have, peaks and valleys, right? You know about that. Mountains. Is that rude to say? Sorry.
No, not rude at all. Mountains, yeah. They have peaks and valleys. Yep.
Right. Well, I got more requisitioning to do, so I'm gonna just go around the town, make sure we're all prepared for everything, every eventuality.
Wait, stop
I will
stealing.
see you after. Stop. Requisitioning. All right, bye. Take
Wait,
care.
no,
And she just starts running off.
I
And she's just yelling as she's running down the street. "Important City Watch business, get out of the way!" And she's just sprinting as fast as she can.
oh God. Okay. Okay, right. And I guess she'll just turn tail and just walk slowly towards the town hall where the meeting is.
Excellent. So let's cut over to Val. Val, the temple on the outskirts of the village. This is where you live. You're waking up here in your warm bed. Tell me how that's all going.
Wake up. Just breathe for a second, knowing the chaos that is going to be waiting for me at City Hall. Just breathe in deeply. Put my feet on the floor and then put them right back in the bed because the floor is fucking cold.
Yep.
So I'm gonna grab some slippers, put those on, shuffle over to the mirror, just kind of like get the hair into working order, wash my face, head downstairs. I don't know, what time is it? What?
It's early. This is
Early,
everything that's happening
okay.
is not chronological, so you're probably the
Okay.
first one to wake out of the players.
Okay, so then it's like 5 o'clock. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we get
It is
into the
pitch black
kitchen.
outside.
Yep. And so she just begins her morning routine, which is making about between 7 and 10 different lunches.
Excellent.
Just kind of getting those into, I don't know, I envision like little bento boxes kind of a thing. And then we perform what I call the summoning the child ritual, which is I get the pan on the stove, I get it heating up, and then I slap some bacon in there and I just wait.
It takes less than a minute before Hannah, your daughter, you can hear her just bam, 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 running down the stairs. And she kind of like emerges from around the corner and she just kind of quietly says to you, "Morning, Mum."
Good morning. How you doing?
"I'm doing all right. What's for breakfast?"
Bacon. It's almost ready. We're gonna get some toast going. Do you want eggs?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'll get that going as well.
And she like kind of goes over to the table. As this is happening, you feel a slight draft. Into the temple comes a young man, about 17 years old. He's kind of dressed in riding leathers. He's got his hair kind of like done up, side shave. He's ready to kind of like go on a journey of some kind. Do you recognize this as Alzani? He is sort of the courier, the de facto courier of Miniry. of Rizaean descent, and he comes in. He sees one of the lunches, and he just kind of just grabs one without saying much to you. Then he pauses for a second and sort of looks at you. He just like slowly reaches out and grabs the second one.
I offer him like the 3 pieces of bacon I had going.
He just like he has like both these lunches in his hands, so he just kind of like shoves one under like his armpit and just sort of reaches out and like takes a piece of bacon and just eats it immediately. Clearly it was too hot for his mouth, and he's just kind of like dealing with that on his own.
I hold out the water.
He's trying to look as cool as he
for
can.
this.
And he just kind of like waves away the water, like, nah, don't eat it, I'm fine.
Okay, if
You see like his eyes watering a little bit.
Where are you headed out today, or are you still chewing?
he just kind of puts up a finger as he's like, yeah. I'm heading out down south, delivering a bunch of post. Most of it is Mira's. You know how it is. Do you have anything I need to pick up? Anything you need to send?
There should be another shipment of the herbs coming in soon. Might want to pick those up. Yeah, that should be the only thing.
Great. Nice and easy, straightforward. It's freezing, by the way. Bloody freezing. And when he says bloody, Hannah kind of looks up at him and just goes, bloody freezing.
I turned her and that is not a word that we use.
Oh, sorry, Mum. She just kind of like goes back to eating her breakfast.
I give Elzani a look.
And he just kind of rolls his eyes and goes, what you gonna do? And then he just quickly leaves. Not before kind of like giving a wink and a wave to Hannah as he quickly departs.
Be safe. Don't freeze to death.
And he leaves. You sit down to eat with Hannah. You are soon joined by Shauna, who is the young adult priest in training, who is kind of your acolyte, your understudy, if you will. And she makes her way up to the table, says good morning to everybody. She has a big book in her hand that she's sort of reading at the table. And you notice that as Hannah is chewing on something, she kind of stops and sort of puts her head up. And then she just opens her mouth quite wide and kind of sticks her tongue out to start sort of feeling around one of her front canines, and just starts twisting it about 180 degrees around and goes, and just keeps wincing a little bit.
Hannah, not at the table. Please, not with your mouth full.
Oh, sorry.
It's a little gross.
And she kind of like starts like digging at it a little bit, and she's like, it's getting a bit annoying.
If you really, really want to, I can pull it out.
No, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And she like just sort of buries her head in it like a bite of toast and starts chewing on one side of her mouth.
It will come out when it's good and ready.
And Shauna, as she's kind of like going through this book, she kind of like makes the usual small talk with you, talks about this meeting that you have today and everything. And then she kind of steers the conversation in the direction of her book. And she says, oh, by the way, this book that you lent me, really appreciate it. The one on the Exarchs, the Exarchs of Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking through it, and it seems to be it catalogs all the various folklore and legends that we have about the Exarchs. But in terms of anything particularly concrete, there was nothing. It kind of lacked a substance for the most part.
I have not come across any books that have more factual portrayals, but I think that might just be a gap in my own education. I could write to some of the booksellers and see if they have any recommendations, or we can check with Rickart.
Yeah, it just feels like we should know about these things more. We have so many tales and stories about the 7 gods of light and about the 4 primordials as well that came before them. When it comes to the Exarchs, it's all so muddy. And they're meant to be diametrically opposed to the 7. You'd think there'd be some sort of equivalence there, but there isn't.
I think that there is danger in studying this, though. So I think whatever we do, we need to proceed with caution.
I mean, I agree, but this is all this. It was the study of sorcery that helped us defeat Kern. Well, push them back at least.
That I will admit that is true, but if you want the books, I can put in a request for them, but I just want you to be cautious.
Of course, but isn't it our job as spiritual leaders of this community to be as well versed in all these things as possible so we can help guide people as best we can with as much information that we have?
I suppose. In Jarzon, we just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I hear that in Jarzon you can't really talk about anything.
You can talk. You just don't.
I didn't mean it like that. I just the word heretic gets thrown around a lot, and you know how these stories always get blown out of proportion, but it sounds scary. I don't know how you dealt with it, but I'm glad that you're here now.
Thank you. I am also glad that we are here now.
You just hear a scream come from Hannah after a crunch, and you see that her tooth is sticking out of a piece of toast in front of her, and she's kind of clatching at her mouth ah!
Oh, God.
Oh, mommy!
Oh. Okay, quick question. Technology-based question. Do we
Yes.
have ice boxes?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If not, you could just go outside and grab a handful of snow.
Snow, basically. Yeah.
But I think you have an ice.
Okay,
an ice
I grab
area.
a rag and I reach into the freezer portion. I stick some ice cubes in there. I just hold it to her mouth. And I'm like, I told you not to get too ambitious with it.
She looked absolutely in pain a second ago, and now she looks absolutely fine. And she's like, "Oh, it's okay. It doesn't really hurt anymore." And she kind of is just holding her tooth and says, "Is a tooth fairy gonna come?"
It depends on if you did your chores yesterday.
Her eyes widen ever so slightly, and she says, "Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to clean my room now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the
That may
breakfast,
be
Mumbai."
a very judicious choice.
And she kind of pauses for a second, and then just sort of whispers, "Judicious," and then keeps going up to her room.
Hannah's adorable.
Also, I
do you
love
head
the
out?
strict mom answer of just I don't know. Is Santa gonna come? Were you a little brat? Who knows?
So, are you heading, Val? Are you going to head to the council meeting later today?
I guess so, yeah. I think she's gonna probably pull together some notes on things that she thinks might need to be addressed. And I think she definitely kind of prepares notes for Hannah and Shanna. That is a weird combination. Shanna
Yeah, it
to
is. Two
deliver
Annas
to,
in your house.
Yeah. To deliver to any patients that need updates on their care or new prescriptions or anything like that.
Excellent. Yeah, so you leave all that, everything, you kind of go through a checklist in your mind of all the things, all the duties that you need to attend to, and you think you've hit everything. You know that Shana is very competent as well, but you still have that kind of sense of, well, just in case, you just got to make
Yeah.
everything, as seamless and easy as possible, even if she can handle if it isn't, but that's fine. But
Mhm.
yeah, so you head through the Miniry streets, through the snow, bundled up for the cold. And you arrive at the village hall. So the village hall of Miniry, it was one of the first places that was built when the kingdom's influence came in. And what I mean by that is that since Miniry exists at basically the edge of the kingdom of the Blue Rose, it is a frontier town, effectively. But recently, there have been some efforts to create a trade road, and indeed, there are Earth Shapers here now who are tunneling through the Icebinder Mountains that exist just to the north of the village, with the hopes of making a permanent land trade route to the lands of Rosea. Because currently the best route is by sea, and that's not always the most optimum route when you are delivering 100 horses for the sovereign's finest, or what have you. So that's all going on up here, which has brought a lot of attention. For the most part, not to mention the formation of the Miniry Council. The arrival of a woman called Esmira, who is a sort of representative of the kingdom's wishes, as well as a fellow called Feldo, who is an artist and a patron who is paying for a lot of these changes that are rapidly happening to Miniry. So the village hall itself stands at quite a contrast to everything around it. Most things are very serviceable and kind of rustic. the village hall is made entirely of stone. It is a bit bigger than it needs to be. It's kind of got room to grow. But it's very clean. It's rather pristine looking, kind of alien looking almost compared to everything else around it. And it's got these massive windows of beautiful kind of stained glass depicting various sort of environments around Miniry as well. There's like a shining sun and cold mountains and like a beautiful forest and such. So when you go into this place, we'll say that the four of you probably arrive at similar times. So you kind of all meet in the atrium of the village hall, and it gives you an opportunity to kind of like shake the snow off of your clothes, and otherwise just warm up a little bit.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, morning. There's snow. Huh, interesting. Yep.
Yeah, this
Interesting.
is the first time
Thank
you've
the
seen
gods,
it.
I'm not late.
Oh,
Morning,
Blue! I brought you a sparkly! And I just pull from my pocket this, like, tiny, like, plastic gem.
I will fly up and, like, talon it.
Hmm?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I know I brought you
Lovely.
3 of those last month, but you like shiny things. I like shiny things. I think this is a good show of our friendship.
I appreciate it. I'll tuck it into my nest later. It'll be great.
Aw.
Thank you.
So while you're all chatting like this, the door opens, letting in a bit of unwanted cold,
Ugh.
and you recognize a somewhat short woman with very closely cropped dark hair walks in, and she kind of like looks up. She's holding just a pile of books in her hands, and she says, "Oh, hello, everybody." And you recognize Emia, and Emia is the daughter of Lizella, who is the treasurer on the Miniry Council. And Emia often serves as a clerk, and often takes the minutes of your meetings as well. And she just says, "Oh, first snow of the year. How about that?"
Seems to have come a little early in my mind. I don't know.
Well,
what do you
hopefully-
mean first? Is it gonna keep going? What if we get buried in all of that?
Oh,
She's like pointing to the snow that's sticking.
Oh, Micah, don't worry. It won't.
How do you know?
We had that one bad year, but
I mean, yes, there was the blizzard 3 years ago, but that was.
oh, there was anything interesting happened in that blizzard?
I mean, you had to leave through your second-story windows, but about that was it.
I
That was
can't.
it.
I don't know.
Oh,
How
that's
to,
not-
I don't know how to.
Who exactly
Snow
left
shape?
from whose window? That's what I want to know.
It is not polite to gossip, Rami. Also, I like she pulls out a handkerchief and like she wets a little. No, come here. And she like. You have like a smear, this big smear.
No,
Sorry.
It's in style.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
I put it away.
sorry, go on.
Oh no, it's fine.
So yeah, Amir goes through the doors out of the atrium into kind of like the main village hall area, and the rest of you follow. It's very much like way bigger than it needs to be. So you've kind of got a few tables and a few chairs set around in the middle of this like large domed area, and then just so much empty space for what will eventually be filled with something. But for your purposes of a very small village council, it's just too much. It is not what you require.
I think we need a ceiling painting, just like a big painting, right
You
on
say
top.
that every week.
I know, and I think it should be of you, Blue. It would look wonderful.
Well, I would appreciate that, but it's really not necessary. I'm a simple ambassador. I don't need a ceiling painting.
I think you do, and I think it's gonna add a lot of class. And then we could add like a row of mini chandeliers, and I have a whole vision for it. You know, we have these chairs, and they're nicer now, and I'm happy for it because our old ones were so ugly. And at least we have these ones, and I'm happy. But I'm never going to be completely pleased until we get that ceiling painting, Blue.
Well, we can bring it up again. I'm
We
sure
will.
Lizella's gonna be against it, but we'll see.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Lizella's against every one of my ideas. If I keep saying all of them, occasionally she'll have to say yes to one of them. It's quantity over quality. That's my scheme here.
Hearing you speak about Lizella, Amir, her daughter, speaks up and she says, "Oh, by the way, my mother couldn't make it today. Her aches and pains are getting to her, unfortunately. So I'll be standing in for today, and I'm sure she'll be able. Hopefully, she'll be able to recover fairly quickly."
Should I visit later today?
Oh, she said not to do much of a fuss over her. It's the same kind of things. She's trying to soldier through. I think it's okay. And you hear the doors opening, and in walks two people, two women, two human women, rather. One human woman. You recognize Esmira as she walks in. Tall, regal, has kind of like long gray hair, very finely done up. And walking beside her is her assistant, Lael. And they're kind of like done up in their very typical, sort of very formal uniform. Still have a sword strapped to their side, kind of diligently serving Esmira. And as Esmira walks in, she says, "Oh, good morning, everybody. How is everybody doing on this wonderful day?"
Good morning.
Very well.
Good morning.
And she kind of like whispers something to Lael along the lines of, "Oh, could you just make sure that we have that thing in order? Thank you very much." And she walks over to her place, kind of at the main chair around this collection of tables that you have put together to have your council meetings at. And she sits down, starts arranging some papers, and she says hello to Ymir and asks about Lizella. And Ymir says, unfortunately, she's feeling a bit under the weather. She won't be making it today. And Esmira says, "Oh no, I thought the cold was good for her joints." And you see Ymir kind of looks down a little bit and she says, "Oh, it is. She was in a very good mood this morning, and then, well, she may have pushed herself a little too far." And Esmira kind of like looks at Ymir like, "Go on." And Ymir says, "Oh, she's gonna kill me for saying this. We may have had a little bit of a snowball fight this morning, and she may have got into it a little bit too much, and well, she got a little bit hurt, and she's going to be very embarrassed, so don't anybody say anything."
Oh, I won't say anything.
I mean, kind of like stares at you a bit, and Esmira just kind of says, "I never would have guessed that Lizella is a snowball fighter." Well, there you go.
You learn
there you
something
go.
new every day.
Well, I
This
do
is
hope she has a
even-
speedy recovery. I'm sad to hear that that moment of elation led to such unfortunate pain after the fact. And you hear the very loud and boisterous sound of Ozzy as he bursts through into the council chamber. He is a sea folk, so he's kind of a very kind of greenish complexion. Unlike most sea folk who are very slender and a bit slippery, he is a very large, muscular man from his many years out at sea. And he is talking with Ricard, who is the Arcana advisor on the council. He is a sort of thin and wispy young man, freshly graduated from the Royal College, beautiful auburn hair that just kind of flows down his back. And he is taking copious notes as Ozzy is saying, basically what you hear as Ozzy walks in is, "Large crab head, squid tentacles everywhere, had a narwhal horn just thrusting right out of the head." And Ricard says, the crab head. "Yes, the crab head, that's right. Excuse me, I have some very important business with Val. If you don't mind, just excuse me for just a second. Thanks." "All right, take care, kid." And he walks over to you, Val, and he says, "Val, about that important business." And he puts an arm around you, big, thick, meaty arm, and he kind of leans down close and he says, "Okay, I'm in a bad situation here. I may have embellished a little bit about the monster I saw at the Rosean Gulf, and then this kid just starts taking notes and asks more questions, and I start digging myself into a bigger and bigger hole. Where do I go from here?"
See.
Listen, this kid is inquisitive to a fault.
Yes. And also, you're a sailor. You tell tall tales. It's.
I resent that remark. My
You told me
tales are
once-
highly entertaining.
You
And
told me once that
100%
you
true.
caught a 200-foot salmon.
About 200 feet. It rounded up.
Yeah, from 10, maybe.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Sure, it was mutated from magic, but it wasn't 200.
Listen, it also had 4 eyes and almost took my arm off, so I think I deserve some credit. Anyway, we're getting off track, and he's talking so loudly at this point that everybody in the chamber is just kind of looking at the two of you having this conversation.
I think that you should just tell the truth. A sign of a good professional is to be able to get yourself into a situation and then be able to back it out of it.
Is he still here? Can you just hear him talking? Is he like doing this like too?
So it looks like Ricard is currently just like feverishly reviewing his notes. He has drowned out the world. He's just kind of like mouthing them out like head of a crab, squid tentacles. Okay, scene.
He is in the scholar zone.
Yes, he's in a fugue state right now.
Mike is definitely gonna like head over there and kind of actually like look over his shoulder. It's like, that's a crab with a narwhal, and it's how big? Oh my god!
You know what? If there wasn't,
Fascinating.
it's so fascinating. We should make an article about it, shouldn't we?
We should consider
Ozzy,
the
you need to do
ramifications.
something right
if-
now. It's getting out of hand.
If such a creature comes close to this village, we'll need to be prepared for retaliation. I'm trying to think. Perhaps we can order some crystons.
I don't want to ruin
Sooner
it.
requisition,
Now, please.
pitchforks.
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes of this, and I'll fix it. Okay?
Suddenly, the council has divided into 2 portions of freaking out over potential giant sea monsters, and also trying to get Ozzy to get the situation under control.
Okay.
You could
And
even say,
Esmira just
All
goes,
right,
"All
okay.
right, everybody, hello. If we don't mind getting the meeting started, we are running a little bit behind schedule." And Ozzy says, "Saved by the bell, I suppose."
Oh no,
if
this
you,
is.
if you wanted, just tell him that it was a hallucination.
That's weird. Why can't you just say you're telling a story? People tell stories all the time.
And Esmira says, "Council, please, if we could begin." And everybody like reluctantly gets to their chairs. There's scraping and kind of like the massive echoing sounds because you're in a chamber that's way too big for all of you. As you kind of sit down and get ready, you can see that Esmira like has meticulous notes prepared. Ricard obviously has his, but they're not for anything to do with what's happening now. So he just kind of shoves them into a satchel that he has. Ozzy just kind of like leans back very casually in one of the chairs. And the meeting begins. So Esmira says, "All right. I call this meeting of the Miniry Council to order. Esmira Garjatsu in the chair. Ymir Cannell taking the minutes. The agenda for today consists of the following." And she takes out a piece of paper and she says, "Test results for the water purification Shas crystals. Thank you, Ricard, for your efforts there. An update on getting a new report from the tunneling camp at Riders Pass. We're having a meeting with a Mr. Toff Ruggins about a supposed paranormal activity. Is this right, Leia?" And Esmira looks to her assistants, and they just kind of go.
Oh wait. We should start with that one. That one's way more interesting than the others.
Esmira says, "Oh, well, we'll get to it. Also, we have plans that we need to nail down for the horse shipment coming from Rizé, expected within the next 2 days." And Ozzy goes, "Oh, that's always a pain." Let's see, what else? Review of the new schoolhouse plans and the zoning. Ideas for the Filarion feast day that is coming 3 weeks from now. And finally, an overview of the local diplomatic relations and the action committee's assignment to the settlement of Lareva that we'll be getting to later. So, let us begin. So my question for all of you is, for any of those items that were brought up, are there any that you think you would have some kind of important say in? And I can read them again if you...
Yeah, that would be good.
It was
Yeah.
basically test results from new crystals that provide water purification. You expect a very dry a report from Ricard that it's gonna basically say, yeah, everything's fine, and he'll drag it out for way too long. An update from the tunnel progress, so the things happening at Riders Pass. A meeting with Toth Riggins about paranormal activity. Horse shipment coming from Rosea. Review of the schoolhouse. Ideas for the feast day coming up, and an overview of the diplomatic relations in the area.
Mike would probably chime in with some update about the tunneling effort. But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
basically what you hear from it is that things are going well, smoothly, on schedule. They kind of like hit a snag earlier because there was a slight bit of metal ore that got in the way, and that tends to cascade a bunch of problems when you're trying to use magic to get through a mountain. But for the most part, everything seems good. You also learn that the cold and, worsening weather shouldn't affect them very much. So everything seems pretty under control there.
Yeah, I want to make sure that they're getting like proper dietary needs met and everything like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Do you want to throw out a suggestion maybe of going over to review all the workers, make sure they're healthy and fit?
Yeah, I could do like a outreach program. I don't know. I can go do a mobile clinic there for like a couple of days, just
because you do know that the ones the workers who are at the tunneling camp, they typically stay there. Sometimes they come into Miniry for to hang out at the tavern, but for the most part they're like, there's no hotel here, so they just stay at the work camp.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that they're getting like enough fruits and vegetables in their shipments and everything like that.
Excellent, great. Any other things anybody wanted to talk about or bring up on this agenda?
I mean, I know we definitely want to talk about the paranormal thing, but
okay, that happened fairly early on. So we just did the report from the camp. So let's handle Mr. Toth Riggins. Esmira leans over to Leah and asks them to fetch Mr. Riggins, who has been waiting patiently outside this entire time. And Leah stands up diligently, walks over. You notice they always just kind of hold a hand on the hilt of their sword, even though you're in Miniry, nothing happens here, so you don't know what they're expecting. They walk over to the council doors. They go and fetch this person, and in walks this kind of hairy-looking, kind of curly-haired man. Looks like he's spent a lot of time in the sun, and he sort of walks in, looks around, and goes, "Not bad, not bad." And he kind
but
of
it could use a ceiling painting, couldn't it?
What?
No, like you said, not bad. But if we were going to improve it, don't you think a ceiling painting would be the one way to improve it?
Oh, I'm not much of an artist, me. No, I don't know that much. I'm sure you fine folk have a much better understanding than I do.
So you're gonna agree with me then? So that's a yes. See, common people also like the idea.
When can I talk about my ghost problem?
Oh, go on.
Yeah, the ghost thing.
Leo kind of walks over to him, offers him a chair to sit in, and he sort of parks it down, and he says, "Right, well, here's the funny thing. My cow, Moonshine, she's gone missing, and the gate was opened. Certainly wasn't me. Certainly wasn't my dear Daffodil. So I'm just wondering if we got some kind of ghost problem in this town." Everybody on the council is just like, ugh.
Could you repeat the story again one more time, just so we have all the details there?
Right, so I got this beautiful dairy cow. Moonshine is her name, right? Because cows go moo, if you didn't know that. She was just happily grazing in the field, right? Come out one morning, and she's gone. Gates open. Just like that. I didn't leave it open. My daughter didn't leave it open. So it must have been some kind of ghost.
How many neighbors do you have?
Well, there's, let's see. There's the other farmers nearby. You got the Matches and the Wiggins and... what else?
Isn't it more likely that maybe, perhaps, one of them opened it or that you forgot accidentally rather than a ghost?
Now, see here, missy, I might not be some fancy council member, but I know one thing, and that's how to raise a dairy cow. Don't just make my trade by letting them out, and don't just make my trade by letting my neighbors let them out either. Must be ghosts.
Of course.
Maybe it's been requisitioned by someone else?
Oh.
Or
Oh,
You'll have
okay.
to walk me through that one. I'm a simple man.
Stolen, I think. Stolen's the right word.
Now, who would go and steal a perfectly fine dairy cow?
Someone who would want a dairy cow?
Like a ghost?
Oh dear.
Well, let us do it again!
Just a minor suggestion here. If I recall correctly, most of you two legs like to use locking mechanisms. Is that right?
Aye, there's a latch on the gate.
Did you check that? Is it working?
Aye, yes. No signs of tampering.
Okay. So someone had to have opened it, right?
I suppose.
And when have you ever encountered a ghost? Out of the things that you know that can open gates,
Right.
when have you ever seen a ghost do that?
Well, they
opposed to
invisible,
a
ain't
normal...
they?
How
Well,
much would I know about ghosts?
You could make the very first test of the game, which is to frickin' see how much you know about ghosts.
Roll for it. First roll.
You can make an intelligence check. I cannot think of a focus that would apply to this. I'm sure there's one.
Religious lore?
natural
It's-
lore.
Honestly, it's more to do with sorcery than it is to do with religion.
Oh,
So I think it would
that's
actually be
true.
sorceress lore, which I don't think any of you have.
I don't have that, no. Let me see here.
So let's
What
see,
did I get?
13. What do you know about ghosts? With a 13, let me double check what exactly 13 gives you. 13 is equivalent to challenging. Okay, so you would actually know that a ghost can, or some form of undead, can arise from the dead body of a person who is inflicted with corruption. So, yeah, ghosts can be things. In terms of do they just open latches on gates to steal? They're more of the, they are corrupted spirits. They just bring destruction and they, drain the essence of goodness and they spread corruption. Stealing cows doesn't quite fit in with that MO in your professional opinion.
I will. Yeah.
You kind of like look at Ricard, who is kind of the Arcana advisor, so he would know the most about this. You can see his eyes are completely glazed over. He is clearly in his mind palace right now.
I give him a swift kick in the shins.
I'm sure you have nothing to fear, sir. There are no ghosts around these parts. In fact, the possibility is quite minute. So you're saying there's a possibility then?
Oh dear.
No.
Might I suggest that maybe the three of us, our adepts of the council, will go and we'll look around the area just to confirm that there are no ghosts. I can do a small object reading maybe on the gate and see if there has been any tampering by any natural, not supernatural forces.
Well, that would surely make me feel better now, wouldn't it? I would love that. That sounds perfect. All right, thank you very much, Council. Really appreciate your time.
Okay, we'll add that to the agenda.
All
Right?
right.
Is that okay with everyone?
We will stop by later today, I guess.
I'm
And
so excited
Esmira-
about this ghost.
Esmira, kind of like the picture of composure, just says, "Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Riggins. And if there's anything else, we will be here for any needs that you or any of the parts of the community have. Thank you. Goodbye." And then he leaves. Lael goes to close the door, and they just go.
I need to go ask Zuna if she accidentally requisitioned a cow. I'll ask her later.
Is she taking things?
She's
Is this-
she's requisitioning them.
Oh boy.
My God, we're gonna have to run some articles about your guard captain thing and trying to make it look better than it is right now. If you guys are going around stealing stuff, your public morale is gonna go down even worse.
Oh no, we're not stealing. At least Suna said we're not stealing. We're requisitioning and things. Yes.
I don't think that's enough to spin it, darling. I really don't. I don't think we can. She's just changing the word.
There's a limit to that, and typically you only requisition things in times of great need.
But
you
there
have
might be
her-
hate golems.
Can you have her put them back?
You can see Rickard kind of like sits up a bit and goes, "Hey, golems.
Yes, I don't know what they are exactly. I'll tell you later.
Curious."
Okay. I don't believe that's a thing.
Well, neither did Suna, but she said it could be a thing. And if it could be a thing, then we have to be prepared for it.
As
Okay,
Mira
so
says,
our
if we could
angle
bring things back
here
towards the
is-
agenda and perhaps add some things later if we feel the need is necessary. Right, next up I believe was discussing the horse shipments, and then the council doors slam open. This might normally be shocking, but unfortunately you're kind of used to this. In walks sort of a very proud and confident figure who is kind of voguing to the center of the
You should have told me if I needed to change the music, Thomas.
who's voguing to the center of the council chamber. He's wearing extremely fashionable clothes. He's got his kind of dark hair kind of done with a long braid that goes long past his butt. And he walks in and he kind of does this and it sort of like does a flourish and puts his wrist on his hip and he says, "It is I, Erfeldo, artist extraordinaire. I am
Oh,
here,
no.
and I have things to say." And the collective council, except for maybe Rami, just go, "Here we go."
Rari's pumped. She's like, hell yeah, this is gonna get more interesting now.
And you could hear Ozzy just kind of like lean back and fold his arm, and he says, "He really does just introduce himself every single time. Just for the rest of our lives, he's just gonna keep doing this, isn't
Yeah,
he?"
oh, but I love that it's slightly different each time. Did you see his pose this time?
I have been blessed by the god Celine. Last night I gazed into the stars and I saw
Yes,
a
yes.
half moon. A gift from the gods themselves. And you hear Rakat say, "Actually, it happens. Really, it happens extremely regularly. It's quite a common occurrence. Phases of the moon."
Like every month, I
I
think.
just pat Ricard on the shoulder. I'm just like, just go with it. Just let him do his thing.
And Feldo continues and he says, "I gazed at its beauty and I thought that Celine's grace was making its way into my very soul." And he drops to his knees and he says,
Oh.
"I was struck in a moment of euphoria and inspiration. I know what this village needs."
Is it a ceiling painting?
Close. I like where your mind is at, but no, I have greater ambitions than a mere ceiling painting. Think about this. In all things, there exists an extreme at one end
Uh-huh.
and an extreme at another. And what do we have between that? A bridge of potential.
Oh.
Light and dark, evil and good. All things rest upon two pillars upon which there is an archway held up for all possibilities. My friends, what we need in this village is an archway that welcomes visitors to this place and lets them know that Miniry is a place built upon foundations where everything can support each other.
I love it!
There was so much build-up, and it was just an archway.
I
I'm
was
so
really
angry.
hoping for a bridge. We needed a new bridge.
Yes, archways are the way to go. I have been sketching them all morning, and I think you are really going to like some of my new designs.
Oh my god, I hate
Oh,
this.
I want to see. Show me right away.
Oh, I do not have them with me. They are back at my workshop. You do not want to see them yet. You want to see the final product once it is done. Ah, I'm getting goosebumps just from thinking about it.
So how much space would this take up?
Well, we could
And
experiment with a few things.
Where
you know.
would it be located? What materials would we be using?
Oh, these are all the boring details. You can't add such definitions to art, my darling.
Okay, so hear me out. But what if we bedazzle the archway?
Oh dear.
So it's
Aren't
just
there
a
proper
rainbow
channels
of colors.
for this?
Lizella's daughter, Ymir, kind of like sheepishly speaks up. She's been taking the minutes this entire time, and she says, I don't really know if my mother would be thrilled about expending, part of the treasury on, an arch that doesn't really serve a purpose, I guess. And Ophelda says, it serves the purpose of beauty, my dear.
Oh, how do you feel about a bridge?
What's that?
How do you feel about a bridge?
Bridge, why are you talking of bridges?
Well, and you can incorporate your design for the arch into it.
Make a persuasion check.
Oh god.
So roll communication with the persuasion focus if you have it to see if you can sway the mind of this eccentric artist and your village's patron who gives you all the money. Let's see. So you generated stunt points. Hooray.
Oh, okay, hold on.
And a total of 10. So you can see he's kind of like mulling it over, just like.
See, you know what? I think Val has a very good point, because here's the thing. Just an archway on its own is kind of a bummer. You're gonna go across it and you're gonna expect more, right? And then it just ends on you. And then our town looks small and sad and pathetic. If we have a bridge connecting that archway, we're just showing how great, how expansive, how beautiful Miniry really is!
We're just speaking about how we don't want to use funds for this archway. I think we should
Bridge.
wait till Lizella.
We need a new
Bridge.
I am curious, those of you who are proponents for a bridge, where exactly do you want this bridge to be? And what
Yeah,
is it
I
connecting?
was just about to ask, like, where are we connecting this bridge exactly? Is there a... Do we need a
I
bridge for
assume
any
that
reason?
this was on that there is some sort of delta somewhere and that we're
Yeah, we
going to
can
need a
definitely
bridge
say, like,
eventually.
'Cause the way Miniry is laid out, it's very, because the terrain is just like all sorts of elevations, so things are very ramshackle. There are various kind of different walkways and bridges connecting things here and there, but they're very straightforward and simple. I can absolutely imagine there is a spot somewhere where it's like, you know what, if we had a bridge here, it would really kind of help people kind of take shortcuts and connect things once the village expands its population a little bit and stuff like that. So yeah.
On a major thoroughfare would be very useful. We're moving a lot of stone right now. We need to beef up infrastructure.
So have you
Lots of
have you
flex.
elected a test to use yet, Val?
I just rolled communication, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
the
so
stunts?
you got stunt points. Yeah.
The stunts. Okay. So
We stunted.
should I do sway the crowd and try to get like more people on the
Get
council
everyone on your
kind of
side.
on it?
Yeah.
You
Ooh,
know,
I think
and
everyone's
then
already on your
maybe-
side, dude.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
so-
everybody's on your side yet.
I'm gonna sway the crowd and
Okay.
get more people going for this idea.
So your general roll was not particularly
No.
high, unfortunately. So you do get more people on your side, but as more and more people are saying this, Phil just goes, "No, you are ruining my vision. It is an archway. It is a divine gift that was sent to me. We cannot mess with a divine gift. I will."
But don't archways have to connect to things?
Oh, working with non-artists. Oh, it's such a burden.
So-
Such a burden that I must endure.
Really quick question on Arfeldo. Is he the type to be like, are we able to be like, yeah, okay, we'll build the archway, and then just don't build the archway, and then he just won't remember that he actually had the
He is
inspiration?
a bit capricious, and he doesn't necessarily stick to the same project for too long. But he's not entirely kind of consistent like that. There are some things that he is passionate about right to the point of completion, and other things where he's like, it didn't work out.
Okay, dang it, never mind. I was just like, if we could just say, yeah, then he'll leave us alone.
As Mira speaks up, she says, "Well, Elfeldo, this is a really wonderful idea that you've given us a lot to think about, and we really appreciate the contribution that you bring, not only monetarily, but with your artistic vision. Perhaps when Lizella is back and feeling ready, we can vote on it proper and see if we can do it justice. How does that sound?" And Othello goes, "Very well. Just gives me more chances to add more variations to the design. I will go now." And he kind of spins around with a flourish, and he says, "There are many things to do!" And he just walks out of the council chambers, and everybody lets out a collective just sigh of relief.
Oh, that was the best.
I respect him and what he's done, but at the same time, we don't have the money.
It's really a back and forth thing because like he's provided clean water and plumbing to this place and like expanded everything and like made the road safer and everything. But at the same time, he comes up with these crazy projects every now and then where it's like, ugh, do we have to?
Val, it's fine. An archway isn't that much different from a bridge. We can work it on him. We'll just switch him over to it. We don't have to do it right now. We can have a little party and we can convince him of what we want from it, and it'll be fine.
The ground will be frozen soon, so maybe
It's not like he would be able to break ground on it anyways, yeah.
Exactly. We have time to get what we want out of it.
You do know that he is a stone shaper, so unfortunately the elements do not stand in
he's a
his
stone
way.
shaper too. Oh,
Yeah.
oh gods. Okay, well then.
We have less time, but we still have time.
It's really annoying because it means he can prototype a lot of his ideas extremely quickly. So he's like, how do you think about this for a statue? It's like, oh god, you already made one. No.
If you were to be able to show us a prototype and we'd know, like the
like
footprint
this?
size of it,
Yeah.
then it would be okay. Like if you could integrate it into a bridge or the design for the school, or if he, didn't do one so big, not the size of the one in Paris.
So you move on with the agenda for council things. You talk about the massive horse delivery that's coming through Miniry soon. That's mostly a thing that Ozzy needs to go through because he needs to prepare the port and the various cargo cranes and labor there to offload everything, making sure the streets are cleared so the horses who just went on a very upsetting, trip across an ocean don't completely freak out. So you go over that. You review the plans for the schoolhouse and nail down its zoning. From what it looks like, everything is in order, so you all go ahead and put your stamp of approval on it, and it is going to start construction very soon. Ideas for the Filarion Feast Day that is coming in 3 weeks.
Oh, this is important to me.
It has religious and community things to think about, as well as potentially security. Well, not really. It's a village festival.
Not
You can
really.
pretend that it does.
Which one
has
is
Micah
this?
been here long enough to know like what it is supposed to be about?
You know that every month there is a feast day honoring one of the gods, and then there's a super special holiday 4 times a year that are a little more involved as well. And you're still getting a bit used to it. I think you've seen at least one feast day at this point, and you were actually there for the equivalent of Christmas time. What's that called again? Did you know?
The winter
Midwinter night.
Yeah.
Midwinter? Okay.
So you'd have been there for that as well. So yeah, you're slowly getting used to these new customs.
Okay, sounds good. Well, why can't we just do the same thing we did last month?
No.
Ozzy just goes,
No.
oh, no.
No. Repetition is boring. It's dull. It's ruins everything that I stand for as a person, personally.
Oh, okay.
Ozzy says, I wouldn't go that far, but also it is nice to get something that is more appropriate for the season each feast day.
Yes.
Well,
So,
can't you just
which-
change the food a bit and maybe change the sign and the statue? That wouldn't take very long.
Which god does the Midwinter Festival honor again?
Midwinter Night is Celine's holiday, but we're talking
Okay.
about the
The
Filarion
Bringer.
feast. Yes.
Are these holidays that would have been celebrated in the wheel too, or are these like
No, not really. There
Okay.
would have been, among some of the forest folk in the Wheels, they would have had sort of their own interpretations and their own important holy days and festivals. And some of them kind of happen to line up with the ones you're used to on the Alden calendar, but for the most part, they're quite different.
Okay.
So
Well-
for you, Blue, it's kind of a lot of learning.
So I would like to propose, since this feast day will be honoring the Miracle Bringer, that we should do a day of service and a community potluck.
No, to the community potluck. Val, you wound me. Community potlucks are so peasant chick, and we're trying to give it a little bit more of a vibe that we're trying to do better than that.
We can't cater every holiday.
Well, we don't have to cater every holiday, but we don't have to do a potluck.
Then what would you propose for the food?
The food? Okay. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what god we're talking about yet. So let me...
Now, is that Rami speaking or Nevi speaking?
This is Nevi.
Okay.
So I don't have ideas yet.
Nevi.
I can read the blurb real quick if you want me to.
Yes.
So we're talking about Felisar, or the Miracle Bringer. He's the god of travelers, people in peril, the poor, the sick, and charity. He is the bringer of miracles, the help for which the needy dare not hope. According to legend, Felisar wanders the world each winter when the poor suffer the most and death is particularly hungry. Felisar is Celine's favorite, and he uses his influence to guard the afflicted from her chill. Travelers, the ailing, and the bereft look to him for comfort, and much charity is done in his name.
I can absolutely imagine that the second it looks like Micah or Blue doesn't necessarily know who this god is, that Val just immediately, from memory, just
recites
exactly what this is.
From like the grade 5 textbook, like,
Yeah, exactly.
word for word. This is what she had to memorize as a kid.
He does know Celine. That's who he.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Blue, you are more familiar with the primordials, who are kind of the elemental gods, also known as the Twilight gods, that kind of created the world. The civilized folk are more used to the 7 gods of light, which kind of represent various aspects of civilization. So you're less familiar with them, but you're slowly picking up on things here and there. Ozzy speaks up and he says, "Why don't we have a giant sea hunt a giant sea monster, bring it in, have a big meal out of that?" And Rickard kind of looks at him like, "Yes, this is a great idea."
This isn't exactly family friendly.
I kind of have to
Food is always family friendly.
I have to agree. I say I like where you're going with the idea of a sea hunt. That's interesting. That's unique. But Val is very right when charity is a big part of it. And I don't see how that benefits anyone other than us.
Folds his arms, leans back again.
So I never knew the people of Miniry to be much of sea monster hunters.
You know what? I changed my mind. I want to see this now. I'll report it.
Ah.
Let's go.
What
Sea
what
monster?
would
I
you-
don't want to see a sea monster. What if it comes
What
on
would you
land? What if it eats us
propose?
all?
to bring in, I guess.
Well,
What?
it depends what's biting on that day. Biting us, that is.
Oh boy.
What?
I would
Laugh,
also
Ricard, it's a joke. And Ricard just
prefer-
looks there, just.
for people not to risk their lives unnecessarily. I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but
Okay, she does have a good point.
Well, they
It's
wouldn't
kind
risk
of a
sea
bummer of
monster
a
if you ask
party.
me.
It's kind of a bummer of a party if someone dies.
Yep, it's true.
I mean,
So we can
Uh,
workshop that. We
we
can put it
could.
in the back. Oh, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
we could do a community seafood cook out,
I don't hate
Kind of
that.
a middle ground.
A fishing contest. I like it.
That's
Oh,
not where I was
that's-
going, but sure.
Okay, but
Um,
again, what does that have to do with charity? It's
We can donate the largest fish caught.
oh,
It's reaching. No, it's not a good
no,
idea.
Esmira says, perhaps we can come back to this another time. We do have rather pressing things that we need to get to today.
Yes.
Okay, we'll workshop it. We'll talk about it. I want to take the village and Miniry on a giant sea monster hunt at some point. That sounds wonderful fun. I think it'd be a great experience, just not on a holiday, because if someone dies, the kids are gonna be sad.
I don't want to take Hannah on a sea monster hunt.
I just said that kids would be sad. I mentioned it. It's fine. We can leave the kids. It's okay.
Ozzy says, Amir, could you read that bit back that Rami just said? And Amir looks at the minutes and says, I think a sea hunt will be lots of fun. Yep, that's all good. That's all we needed. Thank you.
Oh.
And Esmira goes, moving on. Getting to what I believe is the crux of our meeting today, discussing the diplomatic relations of the various settlements nearby. Now, we are. It is obviously no secret that the Kingdom's Eye has been cast over this area more strongly than it has in the past. Fortunately, we have people like Blue on board with us to help us navigate the etiquettes that we should be observing. But What's more is we need to make contact with the various settlements and make sure that we have diplomatic relations with those in charge and ensure that we are able to communicate so that we do not step on any toes, we do not have any disputes, and if there are problems, we can effectively communicate and negotiate out of it without it turning into greater problems later on down the line. With that said, thanks to Blue and some of your scouts who went out, Micah, we do have information about 4 key settlements that we will need to be establishing some contact with. The first is a place known as Lareva, one of the only forest folk clans who has expressed any interest in meeting with us. I believe, Blue, you know their elder, an Ix, that's their name?
Yes. Elder Ix is actually very nice. I think he'll. They'll. Sorry. They'll make quite an effort to establish a greater connection between Miniry and the Forest Folk.
Fantastic. Well, we are going to meet up with them today, and I was hoping that the Action Committee and myself could go to speak with Ix and finalize any conversations to bring us all together to one table.
All right.
Val, are you all right? Did you forget that this was today?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. We can take some time after the meeting before we head out if there are things you need to see to first.
I didn't pack enough lunches for this. Okay, okay.
Esmira continues and she says, there is of course the settlement of Noroth, which as we have all heard about is the supposed haven of criminals that exists. That is going to be quite a unique challenge for us to navigate, as we do represent the law of the kingdom here. So that's going to be tricky, but I think I have a few ideas for what we can do there. There is the settlement of Bakshar, which is, as far as I understand, populated with ex-Alden citizens who have forsaken Alden society. So that should be good fun. And then finally we have Withir, which sounds rather dangerous, quite frankly. A stronghold of self-proclaimed bandit killers who quite ruthlessly hunt the bandits who try to hide around the Icebinder Mountains. Now, we have nothing to fear because we are not bandits. However, if rumors are true, the people who do live there are not the friendliest people, but they provide an interesting security wrinkle to the territory, and I think it'll be important to get them, at the very least, talking to us. But we can deal with the rest of those later. Today we need to worry about Lareva. I believe that once the Action Committee and myself make contact with Ix, ideally things should go very straightforward from there. We have Blue, who should give us some insight and help bridge the gap between our two cultures, and then from there it'll be the easiest one taken out of the equation the quickest. How does that all sound?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Very good.
Okay.
I will go over the rest of the settlement plans in future meetings. I don't want to bog everyone down. It does look like Ricard is slowly fading. And you see Ricard isn't asleep so much as he's looking extremely far down at, he's slowly writing notes under his desk about something that is clearly unrelated to anything happening right now. And he looks up a bit sheepishly and goes, "Oh no, I was listening. Yes. Lareva. Forest folk. Ix. Understood. If you need any help, just let me know." And Esmira just goes, "Well, that's excellent, thank you. With that, is there anything else to bring to the table for today?"
I have several things, but I feel like we can talk about them next week. Because without Lizelle here to tell me no, it's less fun.
You can see that Emiya kind of laughs a little bit at that. And Esmira says, "Very well, then I call this council meeting to a close. Thank you, everybody. Until next week." And she rises up and gathers up her papers, and Ozzy just immediately goes straight out the door. Ricard is still kind of taking notes, and he sees Ozzy leaves, and he kind of chases after him to get some more information.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Oh, someone needs to tell him. Alternatively, I should just go straight on into it and run an article about how very real that monster is. Both sides sound fun, and I'm not sure which one I want to go.
He's too sheltered for his own good. Don't do this to him, please.
All right, since you asked nicely.
Esmira goes up to Ymir and says, "Thank you so much for standing in for your mother today. We do all wish for a speedy recovery for her, and we look forward to seeing her next time." And Ymir says, "Oh, thank you so much, of course. I'll be on my way. I'll get this all filed away, and I'll show this to Mother, and I'm sure she'll... Well, she won't love it, but she knows it's her job. All right, bye, everybody."
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Hello. Bye.
This is not where we're ending tonight, by the way.
No.
Sorry.
Yes, and that was the game.
Done. Day
Just
one.
one
Easy.
council meeting, yeah.
This is all the game's gonna be. No. So yeah, Esmira and her assistant Layla are sticking around, and they're just kind of talking back and forth. Esmira asks Lael to go file all the notes that Esmira took for the day and to take care of some business. Lael nods with a professional demeanor and starts walking out. Just leaving the rest of you with Esmira, and she says, "Well, I will prepare and get ready. I will meet you all at the edge of town when we are ready to go into the Weald. Blue, do you think you'll be able to navigate us to Ix's camp?"
Oh, absolutely. Tessic and I know the wheel backwards and forwards and upside down and left side right and all those other directions that you love to use 2 legs.
Excellent. Well, I will see you all very soon. And she leaves as well.
Right, do we need to pack anything in particular?
You know that, Blue, you know that this journey, it's not especially long, but the weather is, a bit cold right now, and the terrain gets rougher and rougher the further into the Weald you go. So you would recommend, for those who need clothes, to bundle up and also get some thick, sturdy boots as well.
Yes,
Okay.
those are all good things to do. As far as food goes, the Weald should provide, but you are welcome to bring a lunch. I'm sure Ix probably has plenty of food there.
Tell us about Ix. What do they like? What do they dislike? How can we sell ourselves best to them?
So here's what you know about Ix.
Thank you.
So Blue, you've interacted with Ix a few times. You've you've been with various forest folk clans during your roaming of the Weald. As a Raiden, you're not particularly tied down to one place or another until now. But Ix is one of the oldest people you've ever seen in the Weald. They are approaching 2 centuries years old, and they see themselves as conduits of nature, and they take that kind of duty of sort of protecting the Weald and entrusting it very seriously, as well as obviously the livelihood of the clan and everything like that. In terms of what they like, you know that they're a little bit of a fan of well, here's an interesting thing that I'll tell you that I wonder if you would tell us everybody else. You know that Ix likes to put new people through their paces a little bit with jokes, and you wonder if that you should keep that to yourself so that it doesn't kind of affect the perceptions of your companions that you'll be traveling in with.
I think I would keep that to myself because it's like a part of the whole seeing if these are people who we can trust with the world. And if Ix trusts them after putting them through the paces, then I will have a better chance of thinking that they're completely fine.
Excellent. Other than that, you know that they are highly attuned to the wilderness around them. They are not like many other 2-legs that you have met. They kind of shift between animal and spirit and person a little bit sometimes. They're wise, sometimes they aren't. It kind of just depends on the day that you're talking to them. Otherwise, that's basically what you know from your interactions with them.
And I tell you all that exactly, except for the part that I don't.
Wait, what part do you not tell us?
about the kind of, we're gonna just call it a little trial that he might put you through.
Okay.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Gosh.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
Yes.
with that preparation in mind, if there's anything you would all would the action committee like to do anything before setting out?
There's that strange person, right, who like showed up somewhere.
Oh, the mercenary?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not gonna have time to personally do that, so I'm gonna just tell June, scope him out, get some conversation for me, figure out what a time is that we can both meet with him. Do not ask him too many boring questions. Please don't bore him.
So June is like hanging out at one of the canals. Like he's a sort of plasterer by trade. He only works at the paper at the weekend, and he's like helping smooth out one of the newest canal refurbishments. And then you just appear out of nowhere and just say, "Hey, stake this guy out."
Yeah. Oh, that looks lovely. Stake him out. Figure out what you can. I was gonna do it, but now I have to go somewhere completely else. So you gotta do it for me. Find out
I
everything.
was going to do it, then you said you would do it.
Well, because I wanted to do it, because your stake out will be boring. So you're gonna do the stake out, right?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Take care on your trip.
Good luck with your
Plastering.
plastering. Yes.
Like even your other job is boring. Anybody else doing anything?
Micah will probably try to find. Can I call her Suna, or does she like strictly goes by Rosia's?
So she doesn't like you can. She just is very insistent that like no, you gotta call me Rosias. Like it sounds more like you know taking command that way.
Oh, okay.
So she just kind of likes you to just yell out Rosias, and she's like, oh yes, Cap.
Gotcha. So I'll try to find her out. I don't know if she can yell at Rosias, but she'll wait, no, Rosias? Hello, over here?
Why don't you make an investigation check, which is communication in this game, as you're kind of like talking to people, trying to figure out where the mass requisitionalist has gone.
Okay, investigation?
So communication.
Brilliant. Okay. That's only a 10, dude.
Yeah, you are unable to track her down, unfortunately. The village isn't a huge place, but she could really be anywhere. She has a tendency to just sprint as fast as she can most places.
Okay, is there anyone else that is in the guard that I can find? So not her exactly.
Yeah, you
but-
see a couple of the watch, just patrolling, keeping an eye on things.
Okay, then I'll let them know about the whole thing with the dairy cow, and then have them maybe go investigate over there, keep an eye out. If they find it, alert Mr. Tiggins, I believe?
Riggins.
Riggins, thank you.
Yeah, you find a very tall and skinny guy with bright orange hair. His name is Clef, and you kind of flag him down, and he says, "Oh, hello, Captain. What can I do for you?"
Oh, we received a report earlier that there's a missing dairy cow. Mr. Riggins filed it in. He thinks it's ghosts, but it might have been requisitioned by Rosia's. Just make sure she doesn't do any more requisitioning, and keep an eye out for it.
Keep an eye out for missing dairy cow. Keep an eye out for ghosts. Understood.
Yes.
Right, Captain?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and then after that, I guess she'll just like go back to the guard captain house, kind of get set for the day, write a note for Rosia. She's like, hey, this is on her like giant stone slab, like carve out some notes and just like,
Like,
when you see this.
there is the guard who you met earlier who is now trying to sleep after their long shift, and they wake as you're trying to just carve something into stone, and they look at you just like, "What's wrong with paper, Captain?"
It doesn't last very long, and it always just tears in my hands.
All right then, and they just kind of turn around and like just put the meager pillow over their head.
Sorry, And she'll finish carving out the note. Stop requisitioning. Look out for the cow. We'll be back later today. Sincerely, Micah.
Okay. Excellent. Anybody else doing anything?
I would just like to pop my head into the house and just update Hannah and Shanna on what's going on. So basically just do like, I'm not gonna be back until probably pretty late. Mochi's in the freezer. Don't get sick on it. I love you both. Goodbye.
And Hannah's just like, bye, and she like sticks her tongue out through her new gap, just like, oh, oh, oh.
Oh god.
It's my dainty little girl.
Alright, so you head back out. Blue, are you doing anything?
I'd probably fly my shiny new bauble that Rami gave me to my nest, and
Absolutely.
then I'd fly over to the tavern and find my trusty bodyguard.
So answer me this. The tavern door is closed, as are all the windows. It's a bit chilly outside. By what method do you enter the tavern?
The chimney's going. Yeah, it's cold
There is
outside.
smoke coming out of it currently, but you can, if you want to.
I will put the fire out because I can do magic.
So you sit at the top of the chimney of the tavern, where there's a big roaring hearth for people who are like getting in from the cold to come from. You are looking down this chimney and just basically gonna go, that fire can go now. That's what you're doing.
I don't think he thinks about it too hard. I think
love
he
it.
does.
I love it.
Yeah. I have the. Where is
This is
it?
like the reverse of what happened in A Muppet's Christmas Carol when it just goes down.
So does reduce flame require a skill check?
It requires a test of 9. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and roll that then. Is this fatiguing?
It is fatiguing, so I
Okay.
might get tired.
So
From
as soon as you roll it, roll your willpower after that as well. And you were successful, and you generated 5 stun points.
Woo! Nice.
Hot diggity.
Putting out a fire.
Let's
Talk about
make
the
sure-
overkill.
So while you think of
Oh
what you
my
want those to be,
goodness.
because that's a lot of stun points. Basically, you look down into the chimney. Your gaze alone parts the smoke, and it just kind of like goes down and down and down until it reaches the fire. That just goes completely out. The logs aren't even glowing. You have utterly extinguished all the flames, and you hear the sound of objections coming from the tavern of like, "Oh God, where'd the fire go out? Ghost!" Somebody yells.
Oh my god.
I've decided on my stunt.
Yes.
I'm gonna use jest, and you make others laugh around you, so everyone just sees it as this funny thing because the bird's flying down the chimney.
Help me. Okay, so it's from when you come through. Maybe it's a bit of
Yes.
a theatrical display. Okay.
Absolutely.
So maybe So there's
100%.
there's fear at first, and everybody's emotions are heightened. And like, oh, what's happening? Somebody yells ghost. Now people are thinking about ghosts, and then a raven comes flying out of the hearth, and like there's just a scatter of charcoal and mist as you come through into the tavern, and it is a glorious artistic display, and everyone's like, oh, hey, oh, way, very impressive.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about your fire. Just relight that, right? It'll be fine.
The barkeep, who is a woman by the name of Jada, she walks up to you, kind of leans on the bar, kind of peers over at you, and says, "Blue, you could have just knocked."
Well, the door is locked, and it's loud in
It's
here. I
not
don't know if you're
locked.
gonna
My
hear-
establishment
I-
is open at all times.
I don't have hands. I just show her my wings.
I
And are you
know.
really gonna hear this? I start pecking with my beak. Because you haven't heard it before. I've been
Listen.
sitting outside sometimes and I didn't come in. Peck, peck, peck.
I know you don't have talons from in the Weald, but trust me when I say that as a barkeeper, I have a very attuned sense of hearing. So trust me when I say I'll probably hear you if you tap on the door or window in the future.
Okay. Sure.
I gotta light
Sorry
this
about your
fire because
fire.
it's getting bloody freezing right now.
Oh, I don't mind it. It's nice. It's like it's comforting, you know?
Yeah, you have a feather cloak, my friend.
True. Very true. Have you seen my companion, my
Ooh.
little cat friend here?
I'm actually gonna roll to see if they've noticed. Jada just kind of goes, pointing upwards.
Yep.
And you see a
There
big
he is.
lump of Tessic just sprawled across the rafters, and he is fast asleep.
Is there a check to scare him, or can I just scare him?
You can do whatever you want. You can make the jester part of
I'm
scaring
gonna
him. You can do whatever.
Oh yeah, totally. I wanna just, man, I can't really like paw him because I have talents. Okay.
You can peck him.
Tail pulling
peck him
is
a bit.
actually something that crows do.
I'll pull
So-
his tail. No, that seems mean. No, it's fine.
So you're pecking him just kind of on the face, just like, hey, wake up.
Yep.
Okay, so you peck Tessic on the face. As soon as you do, like his eyes open wide, and like he flails around, slightly falls off the
Oh,
rafters
dear.
a bit, but with his cat-like grace, just kind of like clings on a bit desperately, and he goes, in your mind, "Oh hey," and he sort of climbs back on and sits back down again, and his tail is going back and forth a little bit, and he says, "How'd the meeting go, boss?"
It went very well, I'd say. Nothing out of the ordinary, but we're going back to the wheel today, so that'll be fun.
Oh.
How'd your reconnaissance mission go?
I have heard so many things and smelled so many good smells you wouldn't believe.
Now tell me, were those in your dreams or here actually in like awakeness?
Well, here's the thing. I know that you sometimes have visions during your dreams where you see things. I'm thinking maybe
Yeah.
I have visions in my dreams where I also do that. It just hasn't manifested yet. So maybe you don't know.
You know, I had a vision about that once, and it wasn't real.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't happen.
Well, I can't get
So
anything
sad.
past you.
Maybe. I'm pretty perceptive. It comes with the whole bird's eye view thing, you know.
All right, just don't forget about the time with the boar where I'm the one who saved our skins.
Don't forget about the snake that you never got
you
bit
always
by.
bring up the snake every time. You're not allowed to use the snake anymore. It's off. You're done.
You get one more time with the snake. You get one more time with the boar, and then we need to find a new thing.
Government has made you savvy.
That has. But yes, we're going back to the Weald.
When
we'll
you say
be
we,
accompanied by the rest of the we'll be accompanied by the rest of the action committee and Izmira.
I think I'm good, boss. I still got a lot of reconnaissance to do, and if there's an emergency that comes up and you're not here, I have to be the second Raiden representative. Let's have fun.
You know, that does make sense.
And he kind of
Yeah.
stretches out.
Okay. I don't know if the tavern's the best place to watch over the Raiden's general interest, though. Don't you think?
All right, I'll go walk around, make sure nobody's setting fire to the forest or anything.
That sounds good. Don't let anyone set fire to the forest.
Mhm. Well,
Okay.
have fun, boss.
Well, I'll see you. Thank you. You too.
Okay.
And I will. Did she light the fire already?
In the process of kind of like starting the kindling.
Okay, just before it like bursts through the into existence, fire. I'll just fly back up the chimney.
Jada just kind of yells after you, "I could have opened the," and it just echoes up with you as you go. And you fly out. Okay, so do you all assemble at the edge of town, ready to go into the Weald? Excellent. As you go along your way there, you meet up with Izmira. You check everything. This shouldn't be a particularly difficult journey. It's just gonna maybe take a while, depending on how the weather and other factors go. And hopefully with Blue there, it should be nice and straightforward. Blue, if it was just you going, it'd be so much easier. But you have to shepherd all these non-flyers around. So,
Yeah.
do you like
I'm
perch
used
on
to it.
somebody's shoulder, maybe?
I think he does take his time out of the day just to be more attuned with these two legs while not actually becoming them. He's gonna walk himself. He's gonna use his little legs just to walk around and try and keep up with the rest of them.
Okay.
If it gets to be too much, he will perch on someone's shoulder or starts flying.
Excellent. As you make your way out of town, there are various people that kind of like have been saying their hellos to you throughout the day. There's one person. There's a Rami. A man runs up to you. Kind of this Vatan man comes up to you, and he's kind of pointing at something on his head, and it's kind of a very sort of a pagoda-shaped hat with a big point on top. And you know this as the local haberdasher, and he says, "Top tip. This thing gonna be huge soon."
Interesting. Very interesting.
Usually, most folks are what's going after what's all the rage in capital city and everything, but we know a bit better. We're a bit ahead of the curve in
Oh,
that
of
regard.
course.
So yes, keep an eye out.
The minute he leaves, I look at the others and go, "That was terrible." That was so ugly.
He's like proudly walking off.
Not getting in the paper, not even for a half a second.
You also see that the further you get outside of the village, there are a pair of twin boys who are having a snowball fight, and they also have armies of little snow critters everywhere. At this point, it has stopped snowing, so there wasn't a whole lot for them to work with, but what little they had, they kind of fashioned little rodents and various other things as two like opposing snow armies. You know these boys as Jura and Koz. They are twins. They are very rambunctious. They both have just big curly hair that just sprouts out in all directions and is utterly untamed. You're pretty sure somebody tried to comb it once and that comb has never been recovered.
I'm just absorbed into their hair.
Yeah, and you can kind of hear them playing and yelling, throwing snowballs. Jura yells out, "Well, I'm the adept of ice and water, which means I have an entire ice army that can destroy you, evil fiend." And Koz says, "Oh yeah, well, I'm the adept of fire and chocolate, and so I can melt all you and eat chocolate at the same time." And Jura says, "You can't be fire and chocolate. Those things aren't the same. Your fire would just melt your chocolate. You wouldn't be able to eat it. Nuh-uh, because if I control fire and chocolate, then I can control how much it melts the chocolate. Hey, you cheating!" And they just start like going to blows, just wrestling on the ground.
Oh, that's really cute though.
And like when you start approaching, they just kind of like stop mid-wrestle on the ground and just look up at all of you.
You know, hot chocolate's a thing.
Koz is just like, yeah, it is. And the other one, they kind of like both stand up, kind of like brush themselves down. Esmira's like, "Good afternoon, boys. I hope the day is treating you well." And they say, "It is, Miss Esmira," kind of at the same time. And Koz runs up to you, Micah, and he kind of like jumps up and down a little bit, and he says, Micah.
Yes.
Have you beaten up any baddies recently?"
No, I haven't, and you shouldn't be looking for bad guys to fight. Stay inside, and listen to your parents and be safe. Yes.
But inside's boring. And Suna said that you punched an ogre so hard that it got shot to the sun.
Oh, she did do that. I was there.
No, wait, no.
It was spectacular. Micah was so wonderful with
How
that.
big was it?
How big was it? Do you see that clip over there?
You
It
suddenly-
was 2 times the size of that clip, I'm telling you.
You suddenly realize, Micah, that this one boy talking to you has suddenly turned into 2 boys and a Rami who are now just suddenly set against you.
And have you seen Micah's morning workout train? It's so fabulous. She takes this giant boulder and she rolls it up the cliffside every morning uphill. I know, it's so impressive. You should tell everyone about it and just how impressive she is.
That's really amazing. One day I'm gonna learn magic so I can just magic a boulder up a hill.
See, that's smart. You're thinking smart. I like that.
Yeah, did you hear that, Koz? I'm the smart one now.
Looks like he is. So sad, too bad. Let's keep moving.
While this is happening, I'm sorry, I got the names mixed up there. He said, "Hey, that Jura, I'm the smart one now," is what he would have said. Jura is actually going up to you, Blue, and it's kind of like looks a little concerned, and he says, "Mr. Blue, I have a question about the animals.
Well, all the sure. What's your question?
Are they okay when it snows?"
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's so sweet.
All the animals are okay. Most of the animals are okay.
Most of the animals are okay, so not all of them.
Well, not everyone can be okay all the time,
Oh,
but that's okay.
wait.
Esmira like very like sweetly smiles and says, "But we certainly do our best all the time, don't we, Blue? To keep everybody safe and happy. No need
Oh
to."
yeah, of course.
it's
And,
okay. If anything bad happens, we have Mika here, who will come in and save the day.
Can you save all the animals, God Captain?
It's
Yes,
Micah,
she can.
actually, and
Oh, you're right.
From the weather?
and
Of course she can. She's strong enough to punch the weather away. It's incredible.
no, look
Ko
at
says,
that.
"I'm gonna learn magic one day that lets me just fix the weather every time, so the animals will all be fine. So it's gonna be fine."
Well,
Okay.
that's very powerful magic. I hope you use it properly.
Oh, really? Do you know how to do it?
No. Well, it's possible. It's just not something that I would need to do. The weather happens, and we should just let it happen. part of nature.
Whoa, you're right, we absolutely should. And Esmira at this point says, "Well, boys, this has been absolutely lovely talking to you, but we have very important council business to get onto. A lot of boring diplomacy talks coming up, so unfortunately it probably won't interest you a whole lot, but enjoy your playtime, stay safe." And they're just like, they say simultaneously, "We will miss Esmira." And you
Have a
begin
good
on your
day.
way. Bye. And the other one's just like, pow! Mimicking punching an ogre into the sun.
Oh,
Oh,
Remy, why did you say that? Why did you say that?
Fun.
I don't know what. I never met an ogre in my life before, and no one could
It's
punch
Kind
a
of
weather.
glad I didn't have twins.
One, Esmira's like, one you can handle, two is only
don't
focus on
know.
one at once.
out of all of your creations, I'd say children are probably the best. They're just so curious and kind.
Out of all of your creations, freaking two
I
legs.
mean, you know that children eventually become adults, two-leggers, right?
Yes, that does tend to happen.
A shame. So, Blue, why don't you go ahead and make a intelligence navigation test to get your allies through the tricky pathways of the Weald.
Sure thing.
As you all go through kind of the woods that are close to Miniry, you kind of go parallel to the Idle River that flows from the Icebound Mountains before kind of going off in a different direction through the woods. They're fairly sparse for the most part. The further you go in, however, the more the terrain becomes more uneven, more covered with vegetation, the more the trees grow thicker and more gnarled and a little more fairy tale as well. There's more moss everywhere. 13. Okay, so Blue, you know that there is a large kind of ravine that everybody is going to need to cross because they, again, just the wings, just no wing game. So you're going to have to take them to one of the only places that is a safe crossing over this ravine. And thanks to your stellar navigation skills, even though you're not kind of at bird's eye position right now, you still manage to figure out which way to go, help avoid any big, pits of mud or anything like that, any bear dens that might be out there. You take them to this old ruin of a bridge that kind of crosses over this ravine, and it's a very old bridge. It's covered in vines and lichen as well. To the side of it, you can see there is just a big waterfall that is like just a curtain of mist. It's very slow and gentle, and you know this place particularly well because on the other side of this bridge there is a very small ruin that your curiosity has kind of like had you investigate a couple of times, and it's fairly interesting, but for the most part it seems to be too old to really hold any important memories as far as you're aware. However, this time around, as you're all walking across this bridge that goes over this ravine, it doesn't take too long before you notice that there is a figure standing at the other end of this bridge near the small ruin. And they appear to be kind of lying down, leaning against the bridge, and then they stand up. And what you see is a knight, someone dressed head to toe in full plate armor. And they are covered in moss and flecks of lichen and various other things. It looks like this armor has been sort of subject to overgrowing a few times over. And this large, tall knight stands at the end of the bridge and just kind of calls out to you and says,
Ahead lies a sacred place. It is not a place to be pilfered or rummaged through by those overpowered by their greed or curiosity. Turn around.
And Blue, it's fair to say you've never seen this person before and you don't know what they're talking about.
But I've certainly been here before, right?
Yes, you have.
Maybe
So
we should...
he's new.
Oh,
We
He
have
seems-
an invitation, right? Can we just tell that?
You are almost
Um,
certain, Blue, that this is not a forest folk because they do not tend towards metallic suits of armor.
Some
Yeah,
kind of green knight?
I don't know who he is. Would our second sense give us any, like, is this magic? Is he a magic man?
Those of you with second
Is
sight
this an
can
illusion?
absolutely take a gander. Those of you without it can do other things if you would like.
I don't remember what things I have, because I have like 2. Oh, I do have second sight, so you just roll it?
Yep.
I got a 17. How's that a failure?
oh, ignore that. That's because there's no set test because it's against whatever.
Oh, okay.
It's variable, so ignore the failure
Ooh,
part.
we all did really well on that.
Yes, you did. You all basically, like, the 3 magic users just leap to the front and just kind of cast your magic eyes towards this knight and the surrounding area as well. You do read use of Arcana with this knight. There is some sort of... you probably would know the discipline as well, and I think it would be psychic magic, which is unusual. You do not sense any illusions, and you probably detect some shaping as well. And I think, let's see, who rolled highest? Val, you probably can even tell. Oh, sorry, Blue. Blue and Val, you can both tell that the one responsible for that magic energy you're seeing is the knight itself.
Okay.
Huh.
And they say,
Was I not clear?
You were very clear. We're just trying. We had a meeting further over, and we're just trying to figure out the best course. At the moment. When did you get here?
I have been standing sentry here for a very long time.
Okay, well, Blue, is that true?
I've never seen him before. Who are you?
Because
Why are you here?
I will not exchange such pleasantries with those who wish to pilfer this sacred site.
we don't want to pilfer your sacred site now. Can we exchange pleasantries?
I have your word on that?
Solemnly, you do.
Never pilfered a day in my life. No.
well, we did do a lot of requisitioning earlier, but oh,
Yeah, it's okay.
You didn't do any of that. That was your underling. That's not on you.
okay.
You do not have the bearing of a shadow fiend. However, I do not know if I can trust the words that come from your mouth. Perhaps there is another way. Elect a champion!
and you see that from behind the bridge pillar, he pulls out a massive, moldy greatsword and just king puts it on their back, and says,
If your champion conducts himself with honor during a duel, then I shall let your party pass. However, if you show your true foul colors, then you shall be slain upon this bridge.
Do we need to resort to violence to settle this?
You just went from 0 to 100. Why does anyone have to die?
Nobody does, unless you prove a dark fiend. I merely wish to measure one of your champions, your heart. I will not strike to kill or wound. You have my word.
How does swaying a sword measure one's worthiness?
It is a measure of how you conduct yourself during a battle. If I can see that you conduct yourself with honor, then I know that there is some truth to you being true to your word. However, if you take the opportunity to try and use tricks upon me, then that reveals your true nature.
Charlie Cam.
Hi, puppy.
He's like, what's that scary voice, Dad?
Blue, do you have any idea what's going on here?
My question exactly. Is this like a part of Wield?
So, you know the Weald isn't necessarily normal. It is a place suffused with arcana, and some unusual things can happen all the time. It's the home of Fae, and they often get into all sorts of nonsense every now and then. But something like this you've never seen before.
Okay.
Neither you nor Tessic have had to run into this guy, whoever this guy is.
Is anything he's talking about like doesn't make sense? Like, are these ruins are like insignificant as far as I know.
Honestly, you don't really know the significance of the ruins because there's so little of them left, and there's not really anything left to really read about them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say.
I have no idea what's going on here. I've never seen him before, and I've traveled this pass many times.
Elect your champion so that we might test ourselves.
Does anyone here actually know how to sword fight?
Well,
I turn to Micah.
Micah has been carrying a giant hammer this entire time, as well as a shovel.
I know how to use a sword, but I don't want to. What if we just convince him to like throw rocks, and whoever throws it the farthest away?
I mean,
something?
maybe if we can conduct a ritual or something.
Or like it doesn't have to be. Why does it have to be bad? Have you ever played tic-tac-toe? What if we do that?
No sorcerer tricks. I want to test your mettle.
Can I try to make like a lore check or something to see if I know if there's any folklore about these, like
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
this thing is?
Yeah, for folklore, do a cultural lore check if you have it. Otherwise, just intelligence.
Okay.
Is that the one I have?
Yeah, I think it is.
You can help Val and give her a +2
Whoop.
to this roll.
Okay, so we're just gonna.
can I also roll insight to see if he's like,
Genuine?
actually being honest of like, I want to test you and not murder you, and yeah.
Yeah, you could roll your perception empathy.
Okay.
So 18 total.
Empathy.
18, good lord. Okay, yes, Val, you have a knowledge of some esoteric folklore from all around your journeys in Aldous, and you know that there are definitely tales of green knights, and specifically, you can actually recall one that relates to the ballad of the tragedy of the silver antlered deer. And this is basically a tale of somebody, worshippers of the silver antlered deer, trying to fight off a sort of dark sorceress presence. And it follows the story of this knight who goes to do such a thing. He originally served as a guardian of the temple. And eventually, after his job was complete, he returned to find that all of his family and everybody he ever knew had simply disappeared. And so the story goes that he simply waited, hoping that they would return because he knew that they would return to be a kind of a part of the silver, to be blessed by the silver antlered deer at some point. So knowing that, because basically he saw no tracks, he saw no trace of where they could have possibly gone, so he's just like, I'm going to wait for them to return. And then the legend goes that he never stopped waiting, and just kind of tragically waits forever.
Oh, that's actually kind of sad.
That's really sad.
Oh dear.
I mean,
Did the legend ever equate a name with this knight?
With that roll, like, you got a lot of information. I don't think you can remember the name off the top of your head.
Okay.
But knowing this, you could potentially, like, bring this up to the knight.
Sure, I will turn to them and like, can I try something real quick? It might go terribly.
I mean,
Absolutely.
anything's better than a sword fight.
Okay, let's try this. I have a communication of 1. All right, let's do this. Okay, so I step forward and I'm like, Sir Knight,
Are you the elected champion? Are we to do battle this day?
no, I simply wanted to say that we come in peace and that we wish to do homage to the silver antlered deer.
Quickly recoils and says,
What know you of the silver antlered deer?
We know that they are benevolent and powerful and guard this space, and I am also a priest of a temple nearby, and we wish to foster kinship and understanding.
okay, make a persuasion check. In the meantime, Micah, your roll for your empathy test. As far as you can tell, this knight is being completely genuine.
Okay. Huh.
And it's probably fair to say for you as well, since you are not used to surface life, this is just, one of those things that happens to surface dwellers.
Okay, yeah, she's just like, yeah, no, I guess there's walking armor everywhere. I guess this town is
Oh,
small enough.
Val. Oh, Val, I'm so sorry.
Is
Oh,
bad.
that's a 6. That is a
So-
6.
The knight quickly leans forward a little bit and says,
If you were a true worshipper of the silver antlered stag, then you would know that we show our hearts through overcoming adversity, and that such a duel is a divine right, not to be taken lightly. Now elect your champion!
Okay, I turn back to them. Okay, this is the ritual. We have no choice.
Oh,
Is
okay.
there another bridge? Can we just walk around?
I mean,
oh, there's one right there, never mind.
I mean, all we have to do is just fight him for a little bit, and he'll let us go, right?
Just one of you.
Just one of us.
Okay. And he seemed to be okay with not, hurting us. So, maybe that'll be okay for a little bit. We'll just be like sparring with my brother, except, a shiny brother, covered in
Okay.
moss.
Do you feel like you can handle this? You got this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
You
was
are
the
the
most
god, Captain.
confidence I've ever heard from her.
It was pretty confident for her. That was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So go for it. You're gonna.
Okay, yeah.
You got this. We all believe in you. You're going to be able to do this 100%. And
are they
this
fighting
is
on
our
the bridge?
champion. Look
Oh,
at
yes,
her.
yes, yes.
Look at how wonderful she is. Look at her amazement. Here is who you will be fighting today. Micah Gar, Captain of Miniry.
Esmira gives a very polite golf clap.
Hello.
I'm ready,
Um,
cure, just in case.
Okay, that was a wonderful intro for this.
That was
for
that
this
was like,
bout.
let's get ready to rumble.
So I'm gonna
Yes.
give Micah a +2 to your next roll, thanks to that inspirational
Ooh.
Oh my god.
WWE entrance. So Micah, you were kind of shoved forward, going on this bridge, which can handle about 2 people abreast. To your side is the waterfall kind of going over in the mist. To your left is this massive ravine that is filled with spiky plants and all sorts of bad things. And in front of you, this big, mossy knight wielding this gigantic sword. Any quick preparations that you make before you go into this?
She'll probably just take her hammer off, give it a few test swings, make sure she doesn't hit anyone, and she'll just like hold it up and just like, okay, ready, I guess, whatever
Okay.
you are.
So the knight kind of extends an arm and says,
First, we must exchange names. My name is Sir Ijal.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. Wait, does Val know that name then?
when you hear it, Val, you go, that was it.
It's clicking together now.
And I'm Micah Mose. Nice to meet you.
May we have an honorable duel. Now, raise your weapon.
Okay. Okay.
So, Micah, please roll dexterity for initiative.
She immediately regrets this decision.
You got this, girl. You got this.
Just your knees start trembling.
Yeah. 14 for initiative.
Nice. The knight got a feeble 9. So you actually have the first move. I imagine that basically, like, he is on such a big upswing that he is just taking his sweet old time, and you hear just the hinges on the armor just like creaking, and he's extremely slow. So you have an opportunity to just kind of just go boop if you want to. So what would you like to do on your turn?
I would like to boop him.
Okay, go ahead and roll.
Okay, I'll roll an attack. That is a 15 with 6 stun points. Is that correct?
Holy goodness, you got 6 stun points. Yes, that's correct.
Wow!
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Now, if I might offer a suggestion, this creature is wearing some very heavy armor, so if you potentially use the pierce armor stunt, you could ignore the damage resistance.
Ooh, yeah, I'll totally. Wait, can I do more than one stunt? And,
Yes, you can. You can't do the same stunt, but you can do different ones. As
Okay.
long as it.
Cool. I will totally do the pierce armor,
Excellent.
and then add in mighty blow to that.
Nice. Nice.
And then wait, that's only 4, and I'll also try to knock prone.
Damn, okay. So I gotta do some things here. So you swing your hammer as this knight is on a very slow upswing. You basically just ram it into his gut, and he just goes, ugh! And you're using knock prone, so I'll roll, let's roll contested might for that, I believe.
Okay. And try to roll. Alright, might.
And
Okay,
then-
that is an 18.
Holy goodness, you're so strong. Yes, so that immediately just he falls down. It's like hearing a tower just creak and fall over immediately. The rest of you back in the peanut gallery worry that Mike seriously hurt this gentleman. And you can go ahead and roll damage. So roll your normal
Oh
damage
my
for
gosh,
hammer.
he hasn't rolled damage yet.
I haven't rolled
And
damage
then-
yet.
And
That
then you
is,
can add d6 for mighty blow.
God.
roll 1d6. Oh, that's.
Oh.
Oh,
Damn.
well, I rolled like the
So-
lowest.
This is
So-
fascinating. You rolled basically the lowest damage you possibly could.
She's still trying to be gentle, yo.
Yeah, and it was 11. So the armor would have reduced that by 5, but you're piercing, so it's going to only reduce it by 2. So you deal a whopping 9 damage. Ping!
Cool.
And this poor knight just crumples to the ground. You hear the sword just clang on the ground, bits and like armor fracture and just fall off. He did not have a good first round. Now the rest of you, you can help in any way that you see fit, as long as you, well, it's up to you. But this is meant to be an honorable fight, so you could potentially use the aid action. For Micah, you could do other things that potentially help her out, as long as it's not like over cheating or anything like that. So if you want to, go ahead and do something. Otherwise, this knight is going to do stuff. The knight's going to stand up. Just
They're not
loud
fighting
creaks.
on the bridge, right?
They are fighting on the bridge. It's very climactic
Okay.
and cool looking.
Oh,
Is the
wait.
bridge strong?
It's
is
very
it okay?
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Okay, cool.
Does it have high guardrails?
Well, not high. It's sort of waist height.
Waist height? Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay, that's fine. I mean, I also have two-handed style of I can move an enemy 2 yards.
Would you like to throw this knight over the edge?
No.
Should I just yeah, let's just do that.
Okay.
Just
so,
go for it.
so we're having initiative. This fight is over. You slam this knight with such force with your hammer that basically it buckles like his breastplate. He just goes ragdolling over the edge, drops the sword, and the entire suit of armor just legs up, falls over, clang, and just breaks and bursts into a pile of armor pieces into like this extremely thorny shrubbery below.
Dang, did you kill it?
I
Just
don't
die?
know.
As Mira says, we were here on a diplomatic mission.
Maybe we should pick the pieces
don't-
out from the water? Would that...
Yeah, I'm
would the
gonna-
whole-
Let's
I
fly
feel
down and
like-
see if he's okay.
Oh,
at least.
okay. I mean, that was honorable. Did I win?
You
You
did
definitely won.
very well. You definitely won.
Okay.
I don't think we expected that.
Okay. I just thought I had to win. I forgot. Okay.
No, Micah,
You
you're incredible.
You did great. You
But
did.
we should fish him out, right? We should...
I think so.
Blue, you fly down to see the current state of this Bridge Guardian Knight. You kind of have to fly a bit close because he fell straight through thousands of brambles. You kind of have to look from above to see what the state this thing is in. You can see that Micah somehow beheaded this knight because his head is completely missing.
Oh God.
Oh my God, it's Gwen in the
Oh
Green
God, he's
Knight
dead.
now.
Dead.
He's gonna come for your head.
And
I
then
don't-
a spark of green light appears at the neck of the plate armor, and it kind of like puts some tiny glowing legs out and just pulls itself up, and you see what looks like a silhouette, but for light, just this light creature that looks like a hummingbird that has pixie wings, and it just slowly ascends out of the neck of this suit of armor.
Do I know what this is?
You can make a natural law roll.
All right.
Meanwhile, everyone's like,
Everyone's like leaning over the edge, just like, is he dead?
Did get stunt points.
yes, please feel free to spend them as you wish. While you think of that, I'll explain to you what you know from your roll.
Okay.
So you are familiar with Fae and nature spirits. You've lived in the Weald. You have seen sprites before, which are small Fae that usually have that are like pixies basically, but they appear somewhat humanoid. This is like a fusion of a nature spirit and a Fae, but you're not entirely sure what that means. And they're just kind of fluttering out, looking at you.
Hello? Are you the knight?
Oh, hello there.
What?
Are you okay?
I suppose.
You seem a lot less zealous.
Probably.
Well,
Tiny hummingbird.
is there something we can do for you now, or do you want your armor back? I'm not sure what's happening right now. This is
I don't think I played that role out very well. It led to
Oh,
my immediate
dear.
demise.
well, yeah.
Generally, not
I'm-
good improv when that happens.
I'm sorry that my friend there. She's quite strong.
Here's the truth. I didn't really know how to sword fight, so it's probably the best. Didn't embarrass myself.
That was a very poor decision on your part then.
Yeah. It's hard. I
Yeah.
can only really feel emotions when I'm living through something else, so.
Aww, that's
Okay.
sad.
I wouldn't know.
This is the most depressing hummingbird.
Perhaps.
You're our hummingbird!
At this point, you can see Blue talking to this thing, and Blue, you probably can fly up with this thing near the rest of your friends,
Yeah,
because it is somewhat interested in the rest of you, but it's very lackadaisically just kind of fluttering around, and you can hear it speak and everything, and it's just like, well, gotta find a new role, I suppose.
Can we help you in some way?
Maybe. Do you have which one of you is the most passionate?
I don't think any of us want you to take our place.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay. That's
But-
fair.
I mean,
If we just
Maybe
get you
some-
like another suit of armor, can you just go into that?
Well,
maybe some antidepressants?
I found that one buried in the ground, and then I saw the person who used it, and I saw his entire life. I thought, I haven't felt any long existential dread in a while. This might be pretty fun. So I inhabited the armor for a bit. That's over now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
wish
I
Ritter
didn't mean
were
to
here.
ruin your fun.
In my experience with spirits and fae, is it best to help them in some way?
There
Or
is no
avoid
correct
them when-
answer to that question.
Oof.
I feel like
There
avoid
isn't-
is the way we should go, especially
be
when they're
fae.
like body snatcher people.
Yeah, actually, this is very interesting to you, Blue, because you have a object reading ability, and from what you understand, this thing also does, yet somehow is able to delve into depths you didn't think were possible. And also the possession part, that's completely beyond any magic you've heard of
Yeah.
before.
I'm kind of sorceress, I think.
If we get you like a doll, can you go into like a kid's toy even?
Sure. I haven't been a
That's
doll before.
creepy. Please
I feel like-
don't. Please don't.
I'm just gonna fly towards my friends, kind of like ushering wings, the
Guys,
usher
we could
wings.
have a little ghost doll follow us
Do you-
around.
Do you need an action committee huddle right now?
I need everyone to just let's. It was nice meeting you.
Now,
but
is
I
this
think it-
doll one that's loved and cherished, or one that's like
No.
sad? Because I could go either way. I just want to feel something
You
again,
just want
you
to
know?
feel something. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, I collect a bunch of weird things, right? And I'm pretty sure I
Uh-huh.
have at least one doll back in
Oh
my
yeah.
room. Yeah.
I don't know
See-
if bringing him back to the village is the best idea, Rami. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I feel like that's gonna cause a lot of chaos.
Well,
I said-
how about we?
On the one hand, I do want to help him. However, I don't know if
Okay, wait.
enabling.
You have a
Maybe-
village, you said. I could probably go there and just
No.
roll around
No.
for a bit.
Hey,
Please
It
hey,
was
listen,
lovely
guys,
meeting
hold on.
you. We
Wait,
must
I
be
don't know.
moving on. Let's go, everyone.
Hold on, give me a second.
I mean, really,
I have a
maybe
really
some
good idea.
therapy might work.
Guys, so you just need something to possess, right? Something that has strong emotions. So if we build you like a doll out of sticks and then put a really heavy emotion in it, would that work for you?
I guess.
There you go. We can give you that to you, and you can just wander
I
around.
kind of like things with long histories, though. Like, there's a lot of inspiration to draw upon when I'm establishing the character.
So we find a really old tree then, so you get some of the tree as well.
I've done a lot of trees. There's not a whole lot there.
Okay. All right. So
Often when I read the history of an object, I just get, lost in it for a while. And I think
So
the more I did that, the more I lost parts of myself. I don't really know.
Maybe
That's
Here, these
really
millennials.
sad.
Elder Ix.
Maybe that's a good idea.
I don't know. I don't think
They
people like
are-
being around me very much.
Oh no! You
No.
are so pleasant to be around. This is such an interesting conversation. I am enjoying myself immensely.
Maybe I could follow you for a bit and just see what makes all of you tick. Do you know? He kind of looks at you, Blue, and he says, "Do you know the kind of knowledge I've protected just by looking at it for so long?" And he kind of looks at you, Val, and says, "Do you know the truth that the past has shown me from things that people have?" And he looks at you, Rami, and says, "The secrets I've uncovered." It's pretty interesting.
Micah, who has nothing to hide. Well, okay, that's fine, I guess.
All right, I'll just follow you for a bit then.
Okay.
Oh dear.
You know,
This will
Sir,
end well.
if you
All the
want-
stories end well.
oh, I mean, I was just about to suggest if you want something for now, maybe you can be in this. And she holds up her like giant hammer that she's had since she was younger. It's like,
hmm
and maybe just stay in here, keep yourself occupied. I feel a little bit bad about just hurling your body over the edge.
No, it's
so-
okay. I did literally ask for it, so that's how it goes sometimes.
Okay, I mean, this is available, but we're gonna head out now.
Okay. I'm just gonna read that hammer for a bit, don't mind me, and just kind of flutters next to your massive hammer and just slightly half melds with it and just seems to stay there for a very long time.
Okay, well, I guess we can go now, right?
How
Blue?
attached are you to that hammer? What if we just throw the hammer away, Micah?
Well, it was
Well,
a really
he'll
nice
fly it out.
gift, and like it's kind of special a little, so.
Shit. Okay.
As Mira says, Blue, is this going to, are we gonna have complications down the line?
Do I think that Ix are they very like? Is there something that they would help with that they're cool with?
Yeah, potentially. You've definitely discussed a lot of things with Ix concerning arcana and lore and things. In fact, that's been the foundation for most of your conversations. Whether they have the specific knowledge you're looking for to do whatever you want to do with this spirit that's now following you remains to be seen.
What do we want to do with it?
Says Mira, I'd say, well, I personally don't find this to be a favorable situation. I try and avoid things that possess bodies, you know. But Ix may be able to help. They are very wise with the wild and the wield and the spirits and just everything about this place where I'm still trying, still learning here.
Is this thing aware of our conversation?
It doesn't
Most
seem to be.
definitely am.
Okay.
They've
feel
completely
like he
stopped
is.
moving. Like even the wings aren't moving anymore. They seem. If you get close, you hear just a slight kind of sound, suggesting they're busy doing something right now. If it's anything like your object reading, Blue, then it means that they are busy living in the past right now.
Okay.
Can we get rid of
So
it
probably
now
not.
while it's distracted?
I don't know if
How do
that's
you
a
wanna
good
do
idea or
that?
not.
I'm
I
just.
don't.
We don't have to do anything. That's just a suggestion. At first, I thought this would be kind of fun and chaotic, but now I kind of feel like I don't like it.
Well, he said that he could find out secrets, and isn't your job with secrets and things?
Yeah, but I like to find the secrets. I don't want someone coming in and doing my thing better than me. I don't have magical object reading power where I can go and see their history. It's cheating.
That
Oh,
seems to
okay.
be a very deep invasion of privacy as well, and I don't like the idea of someone just coming in and assuming the identity of something or someone in the village and causing pain.
I just feel a bit bad that I threw him over the edge of a cliff.
I know, but
Perhaps we could confer with Ix on the matter, and if they can't provide any insight, then we take the matter into our own hands, because yes, I agree, I do not want to do anything that endangers the village. That is not the goal of today.
Yes.
Or
is it
any
the goal
day,
of
in
any
fact.
day?
No,
Okay,
it isn't.
yeah.
Any day. Nope.
Shall we continue, I suppose?
Yes.
Lead the way.
Blue, did they ever say what they called themselves?
The spirit?
Yes.
No. He seems like I've seen like sprites before, and I've seen nature spirits, and they seem to be sort of like a mixture of the two, if I'd had to put something
Okay.
to it. But no names here.
All right.
Onward? Okay. Why doesn't everybody make a perception check as you continue on your way?
Oh.
Making my way downtown.
Walking fast.
Faces
Making my way
fast.
down wheel.
Is it just a general perception? Do
Just
I-
perception, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, nice job.
16.
E.
10 from Val.
Well,
And holy howdy.
Woo!
Wow.
Wow, Blue!
Look at these stun points.
Blue, you notice something that you have not noticed the last time you came through here. And it is that in the ruins themselves, it looks like on what is a very old, moss-covered, cracked altar, there is a collection of a few items here and there that seem to have been unearthed. Some of them include armor pieces. Some of them include very old and worn arrowheads, for example. Some other trinkets that are just too ruined for you to recognize. The one that stands out to you the most is a antler that has been treated with silver inlays, and it has a very fine decoration all around it.
That's interesting.
It's very shiny.
My goodness.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna float over to the shiny thing. Just a second, guys. I know we have to get there, but this This
Esmir's like,
warrants
well,
some
well, he is
attention."
our guide. We should really listen to him. He really has our best interest at heart.
Right? What she said.
What?
Best interest. Attention, please.
Oh god.
So you
I'm
fly
gonna
further
go-
into the ruins. Again, they're not big. A lot of them is completely buried. But you fly over and you take the antler thing, the shiny antler thing.
Blue,
Mm-hmm.
do we see
What-
him
what's-
doing this?
How big is it?
It's about a forearm length. It's got various kind of parts of the antler diverging. And when you pick it up, you immediately feel the power of Arcana activating as it turns into a bow in your talons. A big
Oh,
bow.
Blue, didn't the scary little spirit thing tell us not to plunder?
well, no, I'm not plundering. I simply was investigating. I don't plan on taking anything from here.
I think
Especially
that's
not
a
this. I
sacred
How
can't.
shiny is this bow?
object.
Quite shiny.
Mm,
Oh,
would
even
this
shinier now
warrant-
as well.
mm.
Would this
It has a
object
bow
warrant-
of moonlight. Sorry, a bowstring of moonlight. I forgot to mention that very important fact.
It's so shiny it has its own
This-
shine.
This is a sacred object. I don't know if we should be messing with this.
Would this warrant a passive vision or
Absolutely.
like passive object reading?
Do
Okay.
passive object reading, or spontaneous object reading, I should have said.
Okay.
And we'll see how this goes. Okay, 15. Okay. Yes. So for this object, you.
Oh, it stuns too.
I was about to say you could like tell it's magic, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me double check for object reading. What kind of things? Da-da-da. Oh, so you basically get a view into the significance and past of this thing. You see the shrine around you completely built up and not covered in any moss or vines or anything. Nothing is broken. There are some tapestries hanging around that depict a stag's head. And you see on the altar there is a woman wearing robes who is kind of laying this down gently on the altar as well. And she mutters something in a language that you don't understand.
Mhm.
And then your vision returns back to the present.
What did you find out?
I'm not exactly sure. There's definitely some value to this item. I usually don't get a vision or anything unless I'm trying to, or something's pretty significant or magical. And this seems really magical.
A big thing that you noted about the vision as well was that it was occurring at nighttime, specifically when the full moon was out and shining onto the altar, and that's when it was placed there, and it seemed to react to the moonlight.
It's daytime, right?
It is, yes, it's the afternoon.
So apparently this has extremely strong connotations to the moon, and some sort of ritual I think was done here. I'm not exactly sure. It was sort of vague, sort of specific, but it was definitely very old. Definitely had something to do with the moon, and definitely was wielded by a woman a long time ago who looked to be human.
You couldn't tell. Human, sea folk, Vata,
Okay.
same builds.
By a general two legs.
All the same to me.
Yeah.
Are there any current practitioners of the cult of the silver antlered deer?
You have never heard of that particular religious practice beyond this one time it comes up in this tale. It is essentially lost to time, as far as you know.
But I'm
But you-
assuming that the forest folk in the area would probably be most close, like the closest descendants, kind of
Yeah.
a thing.
Not impossible. Why don't you make another religious law intelligence test to see if there's anything you glean from these revelations?
The stunt I'll use
Yes.
is that makes me wonder, which is kind of cool. You immediately make another perception test to discover what information you're about your surroundings or a different focus from the first, not generating stuff points.
Okay, so you basically learn something very quickly about something else. So go ahead and roll that. In the meantime, Val, you're kind of trying to put the piece of things together right now. While this would suggest that clearly these were forest folk because they live in the forest, but the use of stone and structure suggests that maybe it wasn't a traditional forest folk tribe. It was somebody else, some other force. It is unclear if they had a big following at some point or if they've always been this small, kind of recluse place. You think, given the pieces that you've found so far, that the stag to you seems to represent Brainiel, who is the primordial of water, of nature, of growth, of kind of the wilds. And the silver and kind of the moon imagery is also a reflection of Selene, who is the god of the moon and arcana and secrets. You wonder if this is some lost religion of a kind of fusion of those two things, or a sect that followed them for whatever reason.
Okay.
So we can't touch it though. I mean, we shouldn't take it. We should just leave it here.
Well, that's the question.
Blue's currently just got a big bow in his hand.
I mean, yeah, he's currently sitting on it, but also
We were just told very specifically by the weird spirit thing to not.
who was an imposter?
It's not
Okay, but what if
exactly
it-
like.
What if
the-
it's a
the
double
forefront of
imposter though,
information.
right?
Oh.
Like, what if it's a psych out, and this is the real test? That was just setting everything up, and this right here is the actual test.
With that extra perception test, Blue, you manage to kind of trace the area of fallen loose earth around, and you kind of go to the back of the ruins and sort of keep milling around, and you see various places where it seems like some of these artifacts were dug up from, the armor, the ancient weapons, and this antler piece as well. It looks like they were simply buried by time.
Okay. But recently dug up.
Yes.
It would seem to me that someone's done a bit of plundering themselves. I look at the hammer.
Yeah, it seems like the spirit, like, if there was any concern for the sacred power of this place, the spirit did not care beyond being in that character they were in.
I mean, my question is this relic going to be safe here? Is it possible that we can find...
Should we bring this back to town for Rickard or someone else too?
I don't know.
As Mira says, I was wondering something similar. If this is dangerous in any way, we certainly don't want this to fall into the wrong hands. There's clearly nobody here protecting it, but at the same time, is it ours to take?
Yes.
Even if it is for
That's-
protection.
That's the question.
We-
But also, if we can find someone who is practicing this religion and get it back to them, religious objects are they have a purpose. They are there to be used to create a connection to the divine. So
Can't we ask? And I just point to the hammer. Can't we ask him to possess an armor again? And we can just ask him.
Well, he's not actually him when he possesses the armor.
He's just playing a character.
acting.
Oh,
but he does have the actual information, and we can figure out
Does
how
have
much of what he was saying was a bluff to heighten the drama, and how much of it was fact.
Or we could just go to Blue's friend and ask them about it. We could have one person wait here so nothing gets stolen, and then we could just lead them back to the spot.
Do I know what's like? Since this is like a wheeled place, what's the general consensus on like ruins and things? If a ruin is there, are they like left alone completely, or do forest folk like, or even Raiden go into them and like look around, try and restore things, build things? What's their general?
You're gonna hate this. It varies.
Ah.
Some
Oh,
are
dear.
protected by magical wards, some have no such protection, some have been found by bandits long ago and easily plundered, some have been respected. It's every kind of ruin you will find in the Weald. In different places at times. Ooh.
Okay.
Let's ask the little spirit guy, get his opinion, and then we'll ask Ix as well.
Do we want to trust the creepy spirit that just told us it possesses people for funsies?
It doesn't possess people. I think it possesses things and becomes those people that it sees. Right? Maybe?
I
Yes.
think it also possesses people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think it does a little bit of both.
Oh. I
Yeah.
didn't think he could. I just dropped the hammer.
Oh boy.
Breaks a piece of stone.
Can we... What do we do now?
I'm gonna go like nudge the hammer with my foot, and I'm just like, "Excuse me, Mr. Spirit," or what are your preferred pronouns?
No response.
Guys, I think it's better if we just go ask Ix. Honestly, this guy's sketchy, right? This guy's real shady. I think we should leave one or two of us here and then have the rest go forward, find him, and bring him to this place.
It's a
Oh, I
smart
don't know
idea
about
to
Find them.
Split the party.
Do
So
it,
far-
it varies.
No,
I'm not even gonna
that's
ask any more
not
questions about the
smart.
wheel because it varies.
Yeah, sorry.
It could be
Um,
very dangerous. I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to leave any of you here. Not
Okay.
not alone.
Well, we shouldn't. I feel weird about just taking it, don't you?
Yes.
And if we leave it, then there's no guarantee.
I wouldn't feel.
What if we hide it? Hide it in a spot that only we would know
Some-
where it is. We'll keep it in the general area, but we just place it in a spot that only we would know to look for it. Like,
Oh, why don't we can just bury it, right?
exactly.
Can
And
I
Well,
Let's just bury it.
use my 3 stump points to do the object of your attention
Yes.
and do a check to figure out what is the way that we can do this in the most respectful way so as not profane this place?
Certainly. You learned that the most respectable way to treat this item, based on the descriptions that Blue gave to you, was effectively holding it somewhat aloft. That seemed to be the respectful way that this person was moving it in the vision that Blue had.
Not very.
That's all you have to work from, I'm afraid. I don't know how else you could know anymore.
I'm not exactly a religious expert, but
I'm only like going off
I
of any
can
accident relics that I may have witnessed or
Generally, you don't want to
Probably
touch those.
how dangerous would it be to send Blue forward then, to just bring Ix here?
again, I really don't want to leave any of you guys with like. Not that I'm the expert or anything, but I did live here for almost my entire life, and I don't just. It's not a good idea.
Okay.
I would very much prefer if we all just stick together.
Let's just go together and take this floor now, and then we'll return it, and then no one will know
I
the
think
difference.
I personally am against taking it from this place, but if everyone else wants to, that's okay.
We can
Well,
just
the
take
item-
it for a little bit. It was, or maybe.
I mean,
Did-
it has
you-
been safe for all of these years. Like, no
but
one.
it's been recently.
well, the spirit
it's
found
been
it.
recently dug up, right?
Right.
So they
Where
might
did they
they might come
find
back.
this thing?
Someone might come back. Maybe the thieves that were here might come back and
The
kill us
thief
all?
who was here is currently in your hammer.
oh right.
Yeah.
Well,
As Mira
someone else
says-
might come.
As says, we are losing daylight. Either way, we need to make a decision.
Let's just take it with us for now then.
Okay.
Who takes it?
I will.
Okay, when you pick it up, it just turns into a bow in your hand.
Oh, interesting. So blue is like has it bow?
It's probably for the best. Let's
Okay,
not
yeah.
carry around a super magic bow.
No, that's fair. It's just interesting. Sorry.
Yeah,
Wait,
no.
so is it an antler or a bow right now?
It is a bow, but it has antler-like designs to it. There are kind of pieces going off in all directions.
Can I figure out how to make it just go back to being an antler?
Yeah, you kind of like experiment with various things, just like, how do I do this? You figure out that once you sort of lay a small amount of fingers on it, like if you hold it like this, essentially, it transforms back and you can just stick it in a pocket at that point.
Okay, I will very carefully wrap it in some cloth and tuck it into a bag. and
Let's
I
go.
will take
Okay,
another bag
go.
and
Well,
I
we
will
just talked
scoop
about-
up a little dirt and just put it in there and put it in with the bag.
Wait,
Okay,
you
so
literally,
just follow
you
along
literally
the
spent
thing,
like
right?
5 minutes being like, what is the most respectful way to do this? And what are you doing, mate?
I mean, I don't know if there's like a connection between the bow and like the actual physical earth here.
Isn't it
So-
moonlight? I thought there was
Yeah.
some
That
Might.
is the thing.
And
but
I
I
thought
just,
you said like holding a loft was respectful. Why are you putting dirt on it?
dirt on it.
If we're gonna
That
put
sounds
dirt
like
on
the
it,
opposite
I
of
did-
respectful.
I put the dirt in like a little pouch, sealed it, and put it in the bag with the bow.
So it just has a small bag of dirt next to a bow.
I got
Yes.
a jar of dirt. I got a
It
jar of
works.
dirt.
It's
Oh my
fine.
god.
We're
Here-
fine.
Here's the thing: if you're that
just being
paranoid,
as
then we'll just bury
superstitious
it.
as
We'll just
possible.
rebury it. What's going? Guys, calm
So-
down.
With that precaution taken, are you going to continue being led by Blue to Ix's settlement?
Yep, and we're gonna hope that they have a solution for all of our problems that we're immediately
That we
bringing to
keep
them.
making.
The ever-growing amount of problems.
Oh god.
Okay. So yeah, Blue, you continue taking these two legs through the lands of the wheel. At this point, it starts getting extremely uneven on the terrain. There's a lot of elevation rises and falls. There's more than a couple of logs you have to pass over a few streams on. There are some areas filled with just the nastiest, spikiest looking patches of brambles and God knows what else lurking in some places as well.
Can I pick up Blue and put him on my shoulder? Is he big enough for shoulder, or small enough for shoulder?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm
Just
just gonna pick up Blue
normal-sized
like
raven.
as he's like trying to like stumble over like these logs at the same size as him. Just put him on there.
Well, thank you. This is nice. Look at this vantage point. Oh wait, no, okay.
Just to
Never mind.
clarify, Micah, did you take your hammer with you or did you leave it on the ground?
Yeah, she's taking it with her. She's not gonna
Okay,
leave that behind.
So, Blue, when you go
Holding
on
it out
Micah's when you go on Micah's shoulder, you can just hear the ever so faint hum of as the spirit is learning information about it.
Does that not creep you out, Micah, that it's learning your history right now?
Well, I didn't think I was that interesting to learn about, but so, you know, I've been under I've been
aren't you
under the
from-
mountains for a long time, so nothing really
Right.
interesting happened.
Right. You're kind of like a super secret society who lives in the mountains that no one knows much about, and you just gave your information to a scary spirit person. Have you thought of that, Micah?
Well,
Well, why are you trying to scare her? God, no, it's fine.
That's fine.
And with everybody just saying it's fine, you find that you are standing in the middle of a kind of glade. And here there are numerous. You can see that there is clearly signs of forest folk living here. There are various totems, kind of like pulled up, and spiritual objects as well. You can see that they have these big huts that are essentially large ovoid baskets that have been cunningly woven out of branches using some kind of plant shaping, and they are kind of set off the ground. Some of them have bridges that go between them, some of them have like ropes that they can swing by, and all this. And it looks like a pretty kind of happy, active community. There's a lot of people here, a lot of the forest folk who are just going about their business. And of course, you were very quickly pegged early on, so you kind of see there's a pair of kind of forest folk hunters who are just watching you. They have their bows out, but they don't really have any arrows drawn because no offense, you don't seem like much of a threat to them. But you kind of slightly wandered into the middle of their territory. And Blue, you're able to give your appropriate auspices to allow all these people to leave, and they were expecting some people from Miniry as well. So they take you through the village. You pass by, various children learning tales from seers. You see some people tanning leather hides. You can smell the delicious food coming from a massive sort of communal cook pot as well. And as you go forward, you are taken to an area that feels a bit warmer. Just the entire temperature in this place feels pretty good compared to the cold you've been dealing with so far. And it's kind of a more rocky area that has just a lot of trees and other growth around it. And here you are brought before Elder Ix, who they turn around. What you see is what I can only describe as an ancient Vata. They are covered in wrinkles. head to toe. It is like they're like a very old tree. Their skin has the texture of bark and it has kind of this greenish brown complexion. They have a gnarled kind of wooden staff that they use to keep themselves upright. They don't seem particularly infirm or anything like that, though. They seem fairly virile. And when you arrive, Ix kind of looks to you all and says, "Oh, I was expecting you a little bit earlier."
Micah
There
does a
might have
polite
been-
bow. Just, hello.
There might have been a couple of complications on the way here.
Esmira takes the lead and she says, "I do greatly apologize for our tardiness, Elder Ix. Allow me to introduce. This is Rami Lafrad. We have Micah Mose, Vasila Cooper, and of course, Blue, and I am Esmira Gajasu, at your service." And Ix says, "Oh yes, hello. Hello, all of you. Greetings. So, Blue, why don't you come here a second?"
Sure thing. I'll just fly from shoulder to shoulder.
And without kind of giving any excuses or pardons, Ix just kind of turns around and walks off with Blue for a little bit. And you're all just kind of left standing there. And Ix enters psychic contact with you, Blue, and starts speaking in your mind and says, "So, you spent some time in this village of theirs. What are your impressions so far?"
Well, they do act like, two legs. They're but not like you, but more like them,
I don't. Please clarify.
They do things. They have doors and barriers, and they gossip, and they
Oh, my dear sweet Raiden, I know there are many aspects of their world that is new and interesting to you, but what I am most interested in is the material of their hearts.
Well, they all seem to want to do the best thing for the village.
Interesting. Do you think the village represents the greater kingdom that they are a part of in this regard?
I think that the views of Izmir definitely does, but I'm not sure that everyone's views always line up together. There's many times where we're sitting for hours in our council room just talking about things that we disagree on sometimes.
Curious. Would you say that the village lacks leadership?
I wouldn't say that, no. We all seem to make great leaders, definitely with Izmir as our head of the council, and that's
also
not
the
to
one
say-
who represents the wishes of the kingdom the most.
Yes. Though,
Perhaps something to watch out for.
I've noticed that she doesn't seem to be terrible.
Well, that's a good start.
Right? Generally, out of the people that I've met, she's certainly someone who I enjoy being around.
Well, that is very good. I truly appreciate your candor, Raiden. I will let you go back to your friends now.
Thank you. And I'll just fly over back to the shoulder.
You quickly flutter back, and Ix kind of comes back towards the rest of you, and without any kind of apologies of, "Hey, sir, I just left you for a long time there," they just kind of go into saying, "I have received many visions from the Weald. I have seen various parts of it. I live and breathe through much of the currents that flow through this place. And I have noticed that it is perhaps best, while many forest folk are reclusive, it might be best for us to have our voice heard in matters that are going to affect the territory around us."
Are you alright?
He's fine. He does this sometimes.
Excuse me? Am I alright? I'm doing quite alright. How are you all doing?
I'm great. How about you guys?
Excellent, excellent.
Forgive me, I am not used to your village pleasantries. Anyway, as I was saying, one cannot escape the changing seasons, but one can prepare for the new climate, and that is what I aim to do today. So yes, I believe I shall be partial to joining some sort of accord with your village. Keep an eye on how you do things.
We greatly appreciate that honor.
Blue, you know that this is a thing. This weird throat thing is a thing Ix does to try and like test the patience of people, and also just have fun with young folk as well. Just to see, like like they really just want to see how these village people are going to react, and potentially is going to push it as far as they can to just see like what makes them, snap or break.
What?
Yeah.
He's just straight
He's
trolling.
just bopping along to it. He starts like a little bird bop where they
Just like
Okay. Is it? Are you? Oh.
Yes. Did you have a question?
Oh. We're very great to have you here. But we wanted to ask before we get too far about the bow there, and I point to Val's bag, and this thing, and I point to my hammer with like the little wings sticking out.
Ix comes over and just looks at it, and like their sort of expression for carefully examining things just accentuates the wrinkles 100-fold. Just scrunchy face, looking keenly at this pair of pixie wings just sticking out of your hammer, and the little hum that's coming out of it. And Ix kind of sort of drops the playful demeanor for a second and just goes, "Well, that's a curious thing. Did you acquire this recently?"
Yes, that was one of the complications that made us a bit late.
Oh.
Well,
wheel
the
works in
hammer
many
is
ways.
old. The wings are new.
Yes, I gathered as much. Interesting. The wheel strikes again, it seems. Have you committed any transgressions recently?
I think I killed him earlier.
Excuse me?
He was possessing a suit of armor and old legends, and it challenged her to an honorable duel, which she very much won.
And I threw him over a bridge, so that might be a transgression.
I told a bunch of little children that Micah had punched an ogre.
well,
I never punched.
Did you
an
punch
ogre.
an ogre?
sort of.
I
No,
never
that
punched an
was a
ogre.
transition. That was a transgression. That was a lie.
It was a lie.
It was a
So you're prone to lies. Good to know. Alright, well.
To tell children stories.
Oh, please, I do not mean to sound judgmental. I myself am prone to the tall tale every now and then. As for the spirit, I suggest departing with this thing as soon as possible. It could be benevolent or it could be terrible. And I think that weighing the costs, you might want to just end things now.
Oh.
Please don't do it here.
Oh. Okay.
I beg of you.
Okay.
And
So
Promise
we're
me.
just
Yeah, I
stuck
promise.
with it.
Promise. Sorry.
Very
well,
well.
not necessarily. We could just leave it. Just take it away. I'm
I
sure
suggest
there's
you take
certain
it to
areas
wherever
that
you found it
spirits
and
just love being.
dispose of it there.
Is there a way to maybe not have to kill it?
Kill?
Well, not
Kill?
not
What?
Kill. Just leave. Dispose.
Oh.
Like not.
Oh, I
We're
thought
part
you
ways.
when you said
Just move
dispose of
away
it and
from.
said not here. I thought you were saying that we.
Oh, an easy misunderstanding. I meant the hammer. It looks a bit old anyway.
oh, I think Micah has an attachment to that.
Oh,
It's
Oh.
a family heirloom.
then maybe just shake the spirit out of it
And then
Be
run
on
really
your way.
fast.
She shakes it a bit.
that might
No,
help.
not here.
I'm sorry.
You promised.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
we
we-
found something else.
Yeah.
This is not how I was expecting negotiations to go, but yes, please.
I
More show
pull
and tell.
out-
Children, gather round. The new people have show and tell. They would like us to see.
I wouldn't necessarily do that. And I pull out the antler and
And just
Yep.
yeah, Ix kind of like recoils a little bit and says, "Oh my, a fine weapon indeed. Definitely of the wield. fashioned of antler and moonlight. Impressive, interesting. Where did you get this?
It was
was a-
next to the spirit. And same area.
I will relate to them the whole legend
story,
and everything.
yeah.
Yes, about Sir Ishal,
Mhm.
and my
Ishar.
hypothesis that this is kind of a fusion of the worship of Brannion and Selene, and that it's symbolized by the silver on the antler and the moon light bowstring and all
Yeah,
of that
Ix
stuff.
seems absolutely rapt for attention when you're talking about this. Like, clearly they appreciate good scholarly work, like you just did, with all this stuff. And they're kind of like nodding along and agreeing with you. And they say, "Well, I'm not certain how to interpret this particular omen. I would need time to get a better clarification on what the Weald is trying to accomplish from this. I believe everything that happens here, there is some greater plan behind it, most of the times. Except when they're a fae, then they just do whatever they want. It's really annoying sometimes."
Is it possible with psychic contact? Is it just words, or could I send like images and like?
You can send
transfer
basic
this-
images. To do anything more complicated than that, you would have to enter psychic rapport, which is where you just meld your minds, and it's very invasive.
Ugh.
Yeah, not gonna do that.
Only with your
he's great.
absolute best friends.
Yep.
Oh, if you did that to Ix, oh boy, I don't know what your mind would look like afterwards.
Oh,
It would be
that's
weird.
a lot. That's
That's a whole
200
lot.
years, but
This elder has
Holy-
seen things.
But I can like basic image
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you could like
it's like
a
a
snapshot.
kid's
basically. Yeah.
drawing of my vision.
So what are you sending exactly?
I'll send him the lady holding the bow, the
Excellent.
moon under the bow. I mean the bow under the moon. In the ruin that we were at.
Okay, yeah. Ix will say, "Oh, these were not forest folk that I am familiar with. No, this is something else. I do not know what. The Weald contains many things. It is a safe harbor for many. Not all of it can be tracked at the same time. As long as you respect nature, usually you are left alone. Keep that in mind, by the way. Where to go
so
from here?
you don't know of any modern practitioners who would know.
I'm afraid I do not. I could
Oh, boy.
hold on to it and consult the spirits, see if I have a vision that could lead me to answers if you would like, but I have no other answers for you.
That would probably be best. I wasn't sure if we should leave it in the ruins or if the temple needs to be rebuilt to properly honor whatever spirit is supposed to reside there and honor the gods. Or what is supposed to happen with this? Some more guidance would be greatly welcomed.
What you say about Braniel is the connection to Braniel is true, then our belief is that the most holy thing anyone can do is return to him. Which is to say, if these are ruins left in the Weald, then allow the Weald to reclaim them and be reborn again as part of Braniel's will.
But then what about this? Because it's not breaking down with nature. It's
Do you want us to
remaining.
break it?
I don't really want you to break it, no. I don't particularly want anything from this at the moment. It's a bit of an enigma. But do as your conscience tells you.
I don't think my conscience says break it.
You suddenly realize that behind you there is just a smattering of like various forest folk, most of them kids, just kind of like arranged in a semicircle behind you, just kind of watching and patiently listening to the new interesting people who have arrived.
Oh,
Do you
And
want
Ix, Ix kind of leans forward and goes, "We have an audience."
You want to hear the story about how Micah punched an ogre?
I didn't punch an
Right.
ogre.
One of the kids goes, "An ogre? Wow!"
It was so big too. You see that tree there? 3 times the size of the tree, and she just punched it straight up into the sky, defending our little town. Come closer, children, while I tell you more of this tale.
They scoot forward on their butts, just like instantly wanting to know more. So as Rami is giving a beautiful oral story of this of Micah the Ogre Slayer, what are the rest of you doing?
I don't even know what an ogre looks like.
I guess I'm just gonna turn the bow over to Ix for them to meditate
Careful,
on it.
that thing looks pointy.
And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
They say I bleed sap.
If that's true, have you had that looked at?
They say I'm almost 200-year-old. I think I'm alright.
That's a fair point.
I will take this and see what I can do, and I shall let you know. Blue and I have a connection that we are able to speak quickly over. So I'll inform you if I discover anything from the visions.
I will see if there's anything that I can find in the books.
Excellent. Well, looks like this is the first fusion venture between our two settlements, so
That is true.
here's hoping that's an auspicious start for the both of us.
Yes.
But
indeed.
there is one test left before we can completely agree to terms. You must
Okay.
gaze into the pool of truth.
Okay.
I
Follow me.
honestly can't tell if you're being serious about this. I follow them.
I am always serious about the pool of truth.
I turned to one of the kids. So, what's the deal about the pool of truth?
You have garnered. Why don't you make a communications test and get a +2 for your amazing rendition of your story? And if you roll high enough,
Good at this, yeah.
the kid will be honest with you.
Okay, just plain communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
See
think there's
it.
anything else there that applies, go ahead and add it.
No,
Otherwise,
because I'm not lying or anything.
Ooh.
interesting. So you
That
got 3
will
stunt
go.
points, but only a 9. So do you want to spend those stunt points doing anything? You know what?
Yes.
You got 3. New friend would be appropriate, but please do as you want.
No, new friend sounds great. I'm making friend with this child.
Okay,
Yes.
this child's name is Thordy.
Story.
Yes, she is a tiny little Vata girl who
Oh wait, so the air one or the?
Vatan. Yes, so the
Okay.
air type. And Thori is not as big or as imposing as people of her age, as her peers, but her eyes are the widest, and like she's the most enraptured by your storytelling. And you've made a new friend this day because when you kind of lean down to say something, she like cups a hand to your ear and says, "Ix likes to play this trick on people sometimes, where you're meant to see things in the water, but there's nothing in the water."
You are a true hero among men.
She blushes.
Okay, well I say goodbye to the kids and I give them all high fives.
This concept is foreign to them, but yet it is so instinctual. You get a bunch of small, tiny hands coming up. So Ix guides you all to this area of natural hot springs. The waters are cloudy and kind of emitting steam. Oh no, we lost Katie.
Oh, Katie.
Uh,
Well,
Where do we go from here, Cindy?
I don't know. Let's see. I didn't expect this to happen.
I mean we could take a break and wait for Katie to come back and then
It's
like give her a minute at least and see if she'll.
yeah. In the meantime, we'll go AFK for a second as I fix things.
We'll be right back.
Hello everyone.
Okay, we're good. Fixed.
We're
I'm a
back.
genius.
Sorry for that technical snafu. We are going right back into it. You are all in the camp of Ix, the Elder in the Weald. You are trying to establish a pact between your people from the village of Miniry with theirs in the settlement of Lareva. Ix said that the absolute last thing for you all to do is to go through a trial that will determine if this pact can truly be made. So they take you to these natural hot springs, and then turns around and says, "Each of you, one at a time, must gaze into the waters, and then you must tell me what visions you see." Those visions will determine the strength and valor of your heart. Be truthful. The waters know all. Who will go first?
Oh, sure, I'll go.
Very good. Please, go ahead. So Rami, you go up to these hot springs that are kind of like emitting this steam. It's a nice, pleasant warmth, and you look down. The water's basically completely opaque. Like there's a slight reflection on the top where you can see just a bit of your face, but that's about it. What exactly do you do?
I guess I'll just like touch, like poke the water, poke.
Ripples.
And then I wait, like dramatically, like something happened when I touched it, and just hold it still for 10 seconds.
There is sudden just silence around you, as well as like all the people watching you are just very eager to watch these outsiders do this ritual.
Huh.
Huh.
I saw Micah punching the ogre again and again.
The children burst into laughter, and Ix looks like they were about to judge you for being deceptive, and then realized, oh no, this one got the better of me, and then just laughs and like applauds you a little bit and says, well, how interesting. No, an unusual vision, for sure, but the waters are mysterious in their ways. Who's next?
Micah's gonna stomp up and is really determined to whisper to the water, I did not punch an ogre.
Micah, why don't you make a perception check as you gaze deeply into it?
Okay,
Because the rest of you have no clue that this is a complete sham.
Oh god, I got a 9.
9. You start to worry, Micah, because you can't see anything. It's just cloudy water. You might be broken.
Oh, okay. Micah's just going to, she's gonna stare for a little while longer. Maybe splash around a little bit. Some cloudy water. I don't see myself punching an ogre.
Oh, interesting. Well, do not worry. The water does not always show the way, but it is a bit concerning that you saw nothing. Hopefully your future does not contain nothing. Who's next?
What? What? Wait, what?
I will wander over.
Okay, perception check from you as well, as you gaze into the
This
waters.
is gonna go terribly. Is this perception searching?
No. It's perception, nothing. Okay, so Val, as you gaze into the waters, like, you look very hard to see if there's, like, any kind of, like, cloudy shape from the water you can interpret. Like, you assume this is kind of a read the tea leaves kind of situation, and it's less about what you see and more about what you interpret that's important. And as that goes through your mind, suddenly you're distracted by just the very quiet sound of from a nearby bush. And you look over and you see a very tiny child, like, poking their head out, just stifling a giggle as they watch you. And suddenly you realize, I'm being made a fool of right now.
Okay. So I'm gonna lean in real close to the water. Like, you know, Ix? There's just so much happening here. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, goodness. Please, do share.
I mean, for one thing, there is the image of Micah punching an ogre, but...
At that point, Ix just kind of throws up their hand and just like... Instead of looking at the children, just like, alright, which one of you ratted this out? Which one of you undermined me like this? And Ix kind of waves their hand and says, the ritual is over, you all passed! You all passed the flying colours. Very good, very good.
Does that mean I was supposed to see myself punching an ogre?
No, you're fine. The waters didn't show anything that you did not already know about yourself. Your future is bright and wonderful, I am sure.
Okay.
You have, amused me, outsiders. I appreciate you taking time to provide some entertainment to our humble settlement here. So easily do I find that civilization people like you tend to be a bit stuffy. so I'm glad to see that you don't mind being the butt of a joke every now and then.
My pleasure.
We'll be in touch. Safe journeys on your way back.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Farewell, Blue. And he kind of like holds up a finger, just like it's like the universal sign of "I'll call you," except it's
I'll
more
call
like
you later. Yep.
"I will psychic contact you later," and you'll have no choice but to answer the phone.
We'll be in contact.
We'll be
And
in
with you kind of have to just do a feather salute because that's all.
A wink. Just-
Okay, so do you all head back to Miniry? Anything that you do
We
along
need to
the way?
get rid of the creepy, possessy spirits.
Oh boy.
How would you like to handle that?
I guess I'll try the shaking thing.
So you just take your hammer and just furiously shake it?
Yeah.
Might check, please.
Okay, cool. That's a 17 with force.
Oh my god, poor stunt.
You shake your hammer so hard that like any dirt or crusting of mud on it just gets flicked away into the surrounding wilderness. It becomes pristine. Once more, the spirit gets sent flying in a perfect arc over some nearby shrubs at a
Run!
very long distance
Oh,
away.
okay.
Basically, just javelin to this thing.
Yeet!
So you'll just start running.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we.
Esmira just goes, "This has been a very unexpected day."
This is different.
Okay, so you go to the spirit.
we ran.
Done!
17, my goodness, you're so terrifyingly strong. It
I
is-
know, and she does nothing with it. It's great.
It is the best. It's my favorite thing.
Oh.
Okay, so you come back around, getting through some of the more formidable wilderness, and you return to the ruin area with the bridge by the waterfall. Is there anything you do here, or you just keep on going?
Wait, is it nighttime or no?
It is getting close, actually. The sun is beginning to reach the horizon.
Okay, but we left the magic deer antler with him.
Correct.
So yeah, or them. So we're good. We can just leave.
Okay.
Does everyone agree?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Seems like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you all run. Well, no. At this point, you don't need to run anymore. You safely believe that you have divorced yourself from this spirit. You return to Miniry. Eventually, the ground that you tread becomes much easier for you to go over. You feel a few aches and pains in your knees and legs from just the amount of different climbing that you had to do along the way. And you return to the nice, relatively flat areas of Miniry, and you see the familiar site of the village. Unfortunately, the snow armies are completely decimated. There's no survivors. It's truly a sad day for the snow people. And in fact, most of the snow around here seems to have not lasted very long. Most of it is melted. There's a few slush piles around still. And yeah, with your return to town, Esmira turns to all of you and she says, "Well, might I just say that as for my first chance to really see the Action Committee in action from within, as it were, I am very impressed with how you all conducted yourselves today. Great work. We got the easy one out of the way. The other settlements are going to be a bit more tricky, going to require a little more cunning on our part, but after what I've seen today, I am not worried. You should all get some rest. You've earned it."
Good job, team.
Way to go, team.
And so, with your return to Miniry, it's kind of the evening time now. Things are sort of wrapping up. Is there anything that you do of note during the evening?
I mean, I want to know if June did his job. Did he find out the information?
So, Jun did do his job in that he finished plastering the canal he was meant to plaster. When the evening came around, a lot of the Miniry people gather at the Blooming Bud Tavern. That's where June was. That's where the mercenary was. You could actually probably have joined them. Actually, June was
Okay.
kind of like had like a sort of a notepad out ready to like interview this person. And then you burst in.
No, stop! The interview can't stop yet.
Jun drops his pencil on the ground and goes, and he goes, You're back.
I'm back. And I'm sure you've been entertaining
He just
our
stands
guests
up and leaves his
wonderfully.
notepad behind and just
You
goes.
can stay for the interview. We could both do it. I'm not kicking you off the interview.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Come on back. Come on back. I'm not
Okay,
that cruel.
okay.
Kate, get back in your seat. Here's your pencil. Okay.
Am I taking notes?
I don't want to, so yeah.
Okay. He starts just scribbling notes. So what kind of things do you talk to this mercenary about?
What's the name of this mercenary?
The name of this mercenary. I have to scroll way up for this mercenary's name. This mercenary's name is super rad. It's really cool, and you're gonna love it as soon as I tell you what
I'm
it is.
super excited to find out this mercenary.
I could hear the frantic DM notes scrambling.
Sudi. S-U-D-I. Sudi is his name.
S-U-D-I. Sudi
Yes.
is his name. Okay.
He wears kind of like battle-worn leathers, has a few weapons strapped onto his back and side, has quite a sort of charming framing of his face, like the way his beard is cut, and it's quite long hair as well, some good sort of wiry muscle definition as well. Seems to have been through in a few scrapes, has a few scars here and there.
First question. Why did he pick that style for his beard, and what chose it, and which region did he pick that from?
I'm just realizing now that this could literally go on all night, so I'm going to quickly say
Can I just do like a communication test to see how well I did on getting information?
The answer to that question he gives is basically like, well, this is the sort of Rizaian style that's popular right now. I was just over there doing some mercenary work, don't you know? And you know, some of the barbers over there like to sort of do the men of my age in this style. I think I quite like it. I think I can pull it off quite well.
Okay. Yeah, so
Jun writes down, thinks that he can pull it off quite well.
you're missing the point. Wait, the style doesn't matter, not his confidence on it. Okay, well then can I just do like a general comm test to see how
Yes,
good of an
absolutely,
interview I get?
absolutely. Please do. This would be a communication investigation check, but you don't have the focus, so we'll just go that. Okay, 15. Yeah, you get down all sorts of juicy information from this. Do you follow through with the idea that that Sudi could potentially do a once over of the security in Miniry, and like, do you want him to like sort of go in and say like, right, you need to fix this and this and this, you need to learn how palisades work and stuff like that, or do you try and spare Micah from that?
That would make Micah very uncomfortable, wouldn't it?
Because June is definitely kind of poking of like, ask him about the security.
Ian, and I'm just gonna look at you. We've got the security covered. Micah punched an ogre.
God damn it!
Someone in the background goes, I heard that, I did hear that, I did.
I hate you so much.
This is gonna become the meme of this show.
Micah punched an ogre, and Micah is okay with requisitioning.
And Micah one-shots any enemy she faces.
Pretty much, yep. I have to say, I am much more confident in the security of this village now that I've seen
Thanks!
Micah in action.
Great,
Yep.
yeah, cool.
Yep.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, that poor knight. He just wanted to do one. Alright, anyway,
I'm
so,
sorry. I'm
yes,
sorry that was your big battle, but
No. Cindy, it literally couldn't have been more perfect.
oh, okay.
So yeah, you get down all sorts of information. Jun has filled out like papers and papers of notes.
Okay, wonderful.
You have plenty of material to work off of for the next print of the Miniry Weekly.
Wonderful.
Everybody else, let's Blue, what are you doing in the afternoon, evening time?
He didn't really have like a big plan. He might talk to Tessic a bit, see how his day was going. Other than that, he would turn in, I think.
Yeah, your sleep is a bit difficult with the horrible vision that you had. So
Yeah, that was concerning, and I never got to talk about it with anyone. I should have brought that up at the meeting.
okay.
Tomorrow, maybe.
And it's been a long day as well. So
Yeah.
Cool. So you just kind of like nestle up in your nest. You already put the trinket that Rami got for you, right? In your
Mhm.
nest.
I
Excellent.
put it with my other trinkets from her.
Excellent.
Mhm.
You're amassing a bit of a hoard at this point.
Just a small little hoard. It's fine.
Beautiful. Awesome. did you want to object read that trinket at all? Rami's just like,
Sure.
No, that's fine. Hey, you're good. You're good. You can. You're good.
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Yes. Sure.
Great.
Why
great,
not?
You're good.
go ahead and roll for object reading then, and I'll pull up object reading's TC. Okay.
14.
14. So 14 gives you a vision of the events encompassing everything that took place in a particular place and time. So I'm going to say this is the moment where Rami first acquired this. So Rami, would you like to just talk us through what did you acquiring this look like?
Yes, it was at the port, and I had cornered a trainer, like a trader. So I wanted to be the first one to get there. So I made sure that I talked with Ozzy earlier and like, hey, give me an early so I can get the good stuff.
Okay.
And pretty much it's just Rami aggressively clearing this guy out for the most objects you could possibly
He's like,
get.
the finest trinkets from Rosea, and then 2 minutes later he's like, okay, 2 coppers please.
And
Excellent.
that is what you see.
So you see that exchange
And
played out. And then the
Weirdly
visuals.
enough, she's like doesn't seem very happy about parting with her coins either. She's like, I guess I'm buying this at the end of it.
It's sort of a requisition of sorts, but she paid
Oh,
Fine, I guess.
Newly reported corruption on the Miniry Council.
so much requisitioning.
Beautiful, excellent. Micah, what are you doing to wind down for the day?
I think, let's see, like if anyone goes over reports really quick, like just checks her desk really quick. If anyone has reports, they just
Your
leave
desk
it on
has the
there.
big slab of the note that you left for your sergeant still there. Nobody was able to move it.
Oh. I was like, oh, well, I guess they might not have seen it. Alright, I'll just put this over here. Boom!
And since you're slammed onto the ground, since you're about to rest as well, you can go ahead and just we can just say you're using craft stone to kind of blanket again, and you don't have to worry about the fatigue because it's
Okay.
not going to affect you for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you look through the reports that some of the watch have written for you. Oh boy, it's a lot of nothing. It's there's kind of everything looks clear, all sectors clear as it were. The only thing of interest is what was his name? Clef's report following up on investigating the dairy cow disappearance. He actually, I'm gonna roll for him now to see how his investigation went, and then
Ooh.
this will reflect the report. You
Mr.
realize
Cow.
Clef is not an observant person.
Oh.
Clef is also not a very good writer. He makes a few kind of bullet point notes here and there of cow missing, has pun name, ghosts, question mark, gate opened, no tracks, maybe, can't really tell, question farmer, not a suspect. And that's about the entirety of the report.
Okay.
Suggest follow-up.
She's gonna file that away, just like, well, I guess I'll just ask them early tomorrow morning and see what's up. And she'll file that away, mark that off on to-do list, check the shed of our requisitioned items to see if it grew.
The watch armory, of course.
Oh yes, the armory. The
You
armory.
rattle the rusty padlock open and open up the squeaky door, and inside there's a couple of spears now. There's what looks like the hilt of a blade that has been broken.
So these are all
Yes, there's a few daggers as well. Some spoons and, knives and forks as well. Various other trinkets that, you never know. A couple of hammers as well, but not like fighting hammers, like nail hammers.
like hammer and nails hammers.
Yeah.
I think Micah will grab that slab that she put away for the note for Suna
Yes.
and put it outside, right outside the door, and like close the
So it
door,
can't open.
lock it, put the slab right there, write down no more requisitioning until you write an itinerary of items and where you found them.
Okay.
Put the slab like on the door, she physically can't open it. She's like, well, I guess that's it. That's my test for the day.
And with that, another successful day of being the guard captain.
I guess so.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's round it off with Val. Val, what do you do at the end of the day?
So Val goes home and, she makes sure that the house isn't in complete disarray.
One sec.
Oh boy.
Oh
Hannah!
Is
It's
what?
good. It's good.
Okay.
Is
Very
it
similar to how you left it.
Is it
Okay.
too good? Is everything like cleaner than she left it? Okay.
No.
Okay. What time is it? Like, roughly?
Kind of up to you. You arrived back in the village just as dusk was settling.
Okay.
Wait, dusk was settling? That's not how that goes. Dust settles. Dusk doesn't settle.
I mean, you can say dust settled over the town.
English is dumb.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened. It's dusk.
So I'm gonna check on Hannah. Is she like in her jammies and teeth are brushed and everything?
Yeah, she's clearly well, no, she isn't. She clearly was about to go in her bath, but got distracted. She is reading through the book that Shauna was reading earlier about the Exarchs of Shadow.
Oh.
And when I say reading, like she doesn't have like extremely good reading comprehension, but she enjoys the pictures and many of the passages that she reads.
I'm gonna come into the room. Hey,
Hey, hi mom.
what you reading?
She kind of holds it up. Exarchs.
Okay, and
Did you know
I
the
sit
Exarchs almost pulled all of Aldea into the shadow?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that they fought the gods and almost destroyed everything?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that there are 7 of them?
Yes, I did know that. Do you know why they're bad?
Destroying the world seems really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, they seem to really hate the gods, which is strange because it feels like the gods try to do good things. So why would they hate them?
Because sometimes the gods get in the way of what people want to do, but what they want to do isn't always the right thing.
Oh. That makes sense, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like not taking a bath when you're supposed to?
No,
no.
Sorry, I
Oh,
got
dude.
distracted.
no, it's okay. I'm glad that you're learning. It's just that Mom grew up in a place where this stuff wasn't really talked about. You weren't supposed to say anything about it, and so I'm still getting used to the fact that there are books about it here.
Oh. My tooth whistles when I talk a bit sometimes now.
Well, maybe if you get good enough, you can become, a tooth gap virtuoso,
I already have such a big gap. Now I have 2 gaps. She kind of like pokes her tongue through.
So how was your day? How
It was-
how did everything go?
It was really good. I played in the snow for a bit.
Good. Yeah, we saw the twins on our way out, and they were having a whole big snow fight. So
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't really go up to them.
yeah, that's okay though. You've got a lot of interesting things to do. But So yeah, mom had a very long day. There was a lot of hiking today, I have to say.
Can I make you
Um,
some tea?
Thank you, but you do need to get in the bath.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So you go ahead and get in the bath, and we'll get ready for the bedtime story and everything.
Okay.
And then you can tell me 3 things that you learned, and I will tell you 3 things that I learned. Okay.
Yay! That's my favorite part of the day.
Is my favorite part too.
And she hurriedly runs up the stairs, leaving the book behind.
I will pick it up and put it on the shelf, and I will pull down ancient practices and their contexts. And I'll put that on the table, and I will look around the room, and there are certain objects that I will start to put in the locked high up cupboards.
Ah, excellent. Any particular objects or just sundry items that you own?
There's a necklace that I've had with me since before all of this.
Good to know.
Um,
What was
and
that?
there's
Nothing.
three journals that are on the highest shelves, and I'm gonna put those in the locked cupboards.
Oh, interesting. Out of my own curiosity, are they written in sort of a common Oldain or in Jarzon?
They're
Jarzoni.
written in the Jarzoni
Lang-
curatorial script, yeah.
Excellent. Good to know.
And she is also going to go around and just make sure like there's nothing out that if someone were to do an object reading on them, it wouldn't get too deep.
There's not a whole lot you can do about that, unfortunately. It all comes
Okay.
down to the practitioner and their skill.
Because I have a sneaking suspicion that we're not going to see. That wasn't the last that we saw of that spirit. So
the last
she's- Yeah, she's being a little paranoid right now. So she's gonna put all that stuff away.
Sounds good. Okay, so then you head upstairs, ready to give Hannah her story once she's done with her bath.
Yep. And for that, I think we're gonna.
Real
I think
quick.
we're working through it like a chapter book now.
When you enter your room, there's a man sitting on your bed.
What the fuck?
What?
Do I recognize this man?
He is of a very pale complexion, and he has eyes of a sort of regal purple, and he has very long black hair. And as you enter, you see that he is actually thumbing through the storybook that you are reading to Hannah. And then he looks up at you and he says, "Oh, hello there."
Who are you?
He
What
smiles.
are you doing? What are you doing in my house? Get out of my house right now!
He says, "I am known as the Frozen Star, also known as Gravicarius, the Exarch of Pride." And that's where we'll end for tonight.
Thomas!
Exerting in your house.
Ba-da-da-ba-da-da. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for Blue Rose, Tales from Miniry. That was our very first episode. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks to everybody who stuck through the entire thing.
I hate you so much.
I know.
If you keep watching us, I hope you're ready for Thomas to always leave us on
Dude, that's
cliffhangers like
Yeah,
that. Because it
terrible,
happens
terrible
all the
cliffhangers.
time.
Do you know that he once TPK'd us, left us on a cliffhanger for 3 weeks on that? Yeah, that's this man.
Yeah, that's true.
That
Um,
really
it wasn't
does
even a
relate
TPK.
to
It wasn't
this
3 weeks, it
short-term
was for
memory. We
3
had to figure
months.
that out.
It was literally 3 months.
Anyway, that's all we have time for tonight. Thank you again so much for everybody who joined us. My name is Thomas. I have very little to say about myself. Would anybody else like to talk about themselves at all?
No, I don't care. Just
Please don't follow me.
please don't find me. Please don't follow me. I mean, that's about it, my dudes.
Wow, guys, we're really supportive to fans.
No, I mean, if you could just forget about us until
No,
like
no.
next week at 9 p.m., that's fine.
That's
Uh,
true.
Eastern.
His
We-
his
you
We're grateful. We're grateful for anyone who tuned in and watched at all. This is our first time doing something like this at all, and it was really scary.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you guys so
Extremely
much. Every
yes.
single one of you who stood and watched for even like a little second. It means a lot.
Yes, please show respect to these amazing players of mine because they are truly the thing that makes these games as good as they are. If you would like to talk to us about anything, you can join the Chromatic Chimera Discord server, which a link can be found on their Twitch. Come by, say hi.
We will also be posting stuff on Twitter, so you can give us a
Mhm.
follow there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I want to post about Mika punching an ogre, you guys.
Oh, stop! I can't punch an
legend
ogre.
Of
God.
the ogre getting punched into the
I
sun.
don't, are there even ogres in
It's
this
in the
game?
folklore now.
Guys.
You can't escape it. It's in the folklore.
It's there. Also, requisitioning is a
This
very
is
big
what I
part
have
of
to
this
deal
town.
with.
Oh
This is
my
what I have to deal
God.
with.
We should probably end the stream though, guys.
Yes, that's all from us tonight. Once again, thank you all so much for dropping by. We will be doing this exact same thing next week. So get ready for more Tales from Miniry. It's gonna get really good, I think.
Oh my God.
Starting with an Exarch.
in someone's in our lovable team mom's bedroom. That's
Yep.
just
Well,
With
she's
her
not a
daughter
teen.
in the next room
But,
over. It's fine.
you.
She's an adult, I
We
think.
need a town map to figure out how fast I can get from my place to her place.
Anyway, that's all from us. We're probably gonna raid somebody, Cindy. Is that the thing we're gonna do?
I
No.
don't think so. No.
Okay. Well,
Go
thank
do
you to
whatever
everybody
the
who joined
heck you
us
want.
once more. Sleep well, everybody. Until
Alright.
next time, this has been Tales from Miniry. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye.